Away we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show's on the radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. How do you do? My dudes and dudettes, welcome in. What a Monday we have lined up for you today. We are at no shortage of stuff to discuss, debate, and otherwise banter on about. I am Rob Brown. On the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM, the guy in charge of this and every radio program, or at least the ones that you enjoy, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the sultan of swag, the professor of perfection, the wizard of wave, Colonel Grudge himself, the great one, Lonzo, is in the house today as well. What up, Zoe? How we doing?
I'm doing well. You sound a little bit froggy.
I may or may not have enjoyed partaking in a bit of a hockey game on Friday night that I got a little rambunctious at.
Wow. So it's Sunday and you still don't have a voice.
Shockingly, and this may shock you, it's Monday. As a matter of fact,
I understand how
it's so Monday that Zoe thinks it's Sunday.
Well, anyway, you're so hyped that on Friday that you can't control yourself.
Why would I control myself?
Because
what fun is that?
Because you have a day job that requires your voice. I mean, you're almost 40.
You can hear me.
You need to learn how to control that.
You can hear me. You hear what I'm saying?
If I have to turn you up, there's a problem.
Did you have to turn me up?
Not yet,
okay.
but it could progressively get worse.
It very much could.
You could be Ed Orgeron before the end of the show.
That's my new favorite clip. I like that one a lot.
Apparently, that described you Friday.
No, I was. Listen, it was opening night at the Well. The bits are back, baby. Little upstate hockey. It's opening. You only get one opening night a year.
Do you have a microphone?
Oh, and I used it.
Okay, but so why do you have to lose your voice if you have a microphone?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third period.
Come on, dude. Your regular voice is most people's yelling. So, I mean.
Yes, but my regular voice is not get 6,000 people jazzed about the third period.
I beg to differ.
I mean,
I know you think you got to bring a little bit something extra. So it was just because it's the first game, you got to get yourself in mid-season form.
Yes. There's no warm up here. There's no feather the accelerator. It's just pedal to metal and let's rip out of the gate.
I don't want you to rip scars off of your vocal box because of, just going too hard the first. I mean, it's almost like you were singing AC/DC or something.
It's not far off. It's not far off. We got a lot to get to. Can we circle back around and acknowledge that maybe it wasn't a Bryce Young problem? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just the team's bad because it wasn't a Bryce Young problem. The team's bad. That thing I said a lot of the times.
Andy still did better than Bryce.
Yeah, for sure. 96 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns.
What did Bryce do?
Bryce couldn't have done that. He threw for -4 yards, which is
yeah. So
I don't think I've been doing this.
There
are
no interceptions there, but it's still -4.
I've been doing this a long time, and I sincerely do not think that I have seen a negative passing yardage stat line before. But again, the team's real bad, like real bad. He was 2 of 2 for the record, just 2 of 2 with a pick and -4 yards. But again, my point here is maybe let's acknowledge it's a little bit more than just Bryce Young's bad. Maybe it's a little bit more than just the new guy. Shall we? We'll come back to that. We got to get some.
Do we have to come back to that? Can we just ignore?
No.
The Panthers completely?
No.
For the rest of the season?
No.
If this is what we're going to get, and could it be worse?
No, we can't. We're not gonna. It's gonna get worse.
Have you checked on Rashad's well-being? Make sure
I
he's
have
good?
not. Here's what I'll say. I'm not saying he didn't. I've got on Rashad's YouTube channel, the Panther Nation podcast. I have got the notifications on my phone turned on. So anytime Rashad goes live, I get a little ping to my phone that says Rashad and Dave are live talking Carolina Panthers. And I at least try to check in every time just to see, what's going on. And I got the notification as the game was firing up. Live reactions to Panthers Commanders with Panther Nation podcast. I was like, bang, let's check in. And I watched for a little while, and it was like, the expectations are low. This is a good team, and Jaden Daniels is a dog. If I'd have told you before the game, Jaden Daniels was going to throw 2 passes, run for a 50 spot, and then have to check out because of a rib injury, and Marcus Mariota would be running the offense, I think a lot of you would have hoped, still don't know that we're going to win the game because, again, the team's bad. But you at least think, compete, yeah? Like, be competitive. Even with the injuries, you got to be able to compete it. And instead, what happened is that the Panthers got roasted, toasted, and burnt to a crisp by Marcus Mariota. Yeah, that one. That's the guy. Remember that guy that was the quarterback in Atlanta and lost his job to Desmond Ridder and then just quit? Just left? One?
Wow. Already.
That's early. 6 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Well, almost 7. I do recall like a year or so ago where I didn't like the defense, and you and Rashad were, no, Evero, he's going to get to Sunday, and the defense is bad. I mean, I know the team is bad, but the defense is really, really bad.
Yeah, but we had the conversation last week. Remember, like we had J.C. Horn last week, and J.C. Horn said, we know that we're not upholding our end of the bargain. The last couple of years, the only reason this team has been even kind of worth watching was that the defense was good. And this year, the defense is flat out booty cheeks. Not like kind of. Like, sure. Now, again, there's injuries everywhere. Shaq's out. Derek Brown's out. Like, this team is, I believe, either the second or third most injured team in the NFL.
Is the kicking game any good?
I mean, it's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to find a positive here.
Oh, there's not one. Let me be very clear.
I'm guessing the kicker's decent. I mean, I think we can go with that.
Who's the kicker?
The kicker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
He doesn't get a lot of opportunities. So, I mean, when he does get out there, I'm sure he kicks well.
Yeah. You say he kicks so well.
Well, all right. Punter.
Who's we do know. It's friend of the show, Johnny Hecker.
That's right.
Yes.
The punter, he's Johnny Hecker's really good.
Best in the NFL at giving the ball to the other team for free. Best in the game, baby.
I bet
chalk that up. Find that silver lining.
But he's ranked up there in yards because they punt a lot.
Oh man, we're just hot garbage, but just hot garbage. It's not great in Charlotte. And the only thing I need to hear right now is, hey, maybe could be wrong, but I'm not. Maybe it never was a Bryce Young problem. Maybe the team is just absolute and entirely.
I don't get, but somewhat admire the fact that how you still hang on to the Bryce Young thing. The whole team stinks.
That's what I'm saying.
But you put a good quarterback or a great quarterback on a stinking team, they at least look decent. He does not. -4.
Listen.
-4. Rob.
All I'm saying here is this. I am not arguing that Bryce Young is some Pro Bowler being held back by some strange force. I'm saying, no. Stop saying what you think I'm saying and listen to what I'm saying.
You do that to me all the time.
Again. No. Oh, no. I am not arguing that if BY goes back to QB1, he's suddenly going to the Pro Bowl. What I'm saying is, for those of you that have been going, it's Bryce Young's fault, right? Maybe evaluate a little bit. Maybe look at what you saw yesterday, because Andy Dalton, the guy that proved that it was Bryce Young's fault, stank the building up in Landover, Maryland. We're going to come back to that later in the show. I
think we talked about it enough right there.
We're coming back to it. It is an inevitability for sure. Hey, Gamecocks, went on the road, did more than you were supposed to do. All right.
And there's some negatives. So there's some things to work on.
There's things to work on.
Offensively, for sure, there's some things to work on.
There are, and yet also I would point out that first off, defensively, you made their offensive coordinator flat out quit.
Oh, I thought he got fired.
Well, he did get fired, but I don't think he was. I don't think there was. I think he knew. I suspect it was one of those moments that Brent Venables went down to the OC's office and he opened the door and he's ready for that. Hey, man, listen, I need to have a tough conversation with you. Will you go ahead and grab a chair? And when he swung the door open, the OC was just standing there with the cardboard box with all his belongings in it already. Yep, go ahead, Brent. I gotcha.
See, that's not how that works. He knows not to walk into that office because the holdback coach is going to be holding Brent back from coming at him. So the holdback coach is sent to the offensive coordinator's office and said, don't go in there. Dude, just go ahead. Just go ahead and get ready to go. You don't want to go in there. Brent doesn't seem like the guy who calmly lets someone go.
I think
very, very disappointed that usually when a team gets beat by South Carolina like this, the head coach gets fired.
You are locked into a long contract with Brent Venables. He's not going anywhere right now. On top of that, I think that there are still some schools out there that are subscribed to, and I think it's fair. This is not me knocking that. There are still some schools out there that's subscribed to the, you get X amount of years to prove that you're the guy or not. You get X amount of years to prove that you're the man. And Brent Venables he came with there in 2022. So this is his technically coach 22 and 23. This is his third year, which is ordinarily when the evaluation process begins. He is 20 and 13 to this point. That's a 60% winning percentage right now. They're not going to move on from Brent Venables at this point, but I think we also have to point out that as hell yeah, as the Carolina defense looked in that game, that pick six, the second pick six of the first three possessions was one of the ugliest damn throws I've ever seen in my life from a D1 quarterback. I mean, it was atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And that just kind of is Oklahoma right now. I want to be both the buzzkill and the big fan at the same time. All right. The buzzkill is this: Oklahoma stinks. They're just bad. They're just a bad football team. What I also want to say, though, as we point out that Oklahoma stinks and they are a bad football team, is do not today, Gamecock fans, as will inevitably happen at some point. Somebody is going to jump on a microphone today. Somebody is going to come at you today, and somebody is going to say to you today, that's not that impressive of a win. Oklahoma stinks. They're real bad. They're not that good. Look, they do stink. But you went into their house a week after they got embarrassed by their rivals in Texas, who, by the way, turns out Texas ain't as good as we thought. Texas ain't as good as y'all thought they were either.
No, here's the thing. Who is number one? We actually have some parity. Who is they look like Texas was dominant. They're not. You can go, well, it's Oregon. Yeah, Oregon benefited and moved up to number one. Who's number one?
It is Oregon. And I'm saying that both in terms of that's who's number one on the AP poll, as well as right now they look like the best football team.
Do they?
Yeah, they do. In my ever so humble estimation, yeah.
Okay, that means Ohio State's 1B.
I would say Ohio State's in that mix. I would say Georgia's in that mix.
Because Rob, if they play that game 10 times on a neutral field.
Shockingly, they don't do it that way.
Yeah, but that's always
which is why Vandy beat Bama. They have identical records, and yet Vandy's 10 spots below Alabama. But I would say right now, as the AP poll goes, the only issue I have about it right now, actually, I take that back. I was going to say that Miami is 6 at 7-0, but Miami got bailed out again. ACC, you're not even hiding it anymore. You're just doing it in the open. Oh, yep. That replays against Louisville. Why? Because Miami's 6-0, and we need them 7-0. And now it's horse hockey, bud. Horse hockey. Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Penn State 3. They were on the bye this week. Ohio State 4. They were on the bye this week. Texas falls from 1 to 5, a spot ahead of Miami at 6. University of Tennessee at 7. LSU is 8. Clemson is at number 9, up 1 spot. They jump undefeated Iowa State. Granted, Iowa State was in a scrap with UCF this week, and a scrap that they were able to save in the last dying gasps of the game. BYU 11, Notre Dame 12, Indiana. Indy freaking Anna. 56-7. Embarrass Matt Rule this weekend. Y'all, Nebraska's good. This isn't like a haha, what a fun story anymore. It's a good football team. A&M moves to 14, or I should say stays at 14. Bama drops 8 spots after the loss to Tennessee down to 15. Kansas State at 6-1 is up a spot to 16. The Blue Turf Smurfs of Boise State at number 17. They fall 2 spots, though they were on the bye. Ole Miss on the bye, number 18. Pitt up a spot despite being on the bye to 19. Illinois gets the win over Michigan, up 2 spots to 20. Mizzou wins by the skin of their teeth, which is weird because teeth don't have skin. Mizzou does win, but they also fall 2 spots down to 21. SMU gets the dub over Stanford, but falls a spot nonetheless down to 22. At 23 and 24, Army and Navy, please, for the sake of doing the funniest possible thing, please beat Notre Dame, both of you. Please, both of you beat Notre Dame. Because an undefeated AAC title game would be incredible. And Vandy, with a win over Ball State, moves into the top 25 for the first time in 11 years. We're going to talk a lot of college football on the show today. We're going to talk some NFL on the show today. At 8:40, John Blau of the Post and Courier will join us here on the show to talk Clemson ball. And at 9 o'clock this morning, ESPN's Marty Smith going to join us, and he will join us live on the stream. We'll talk to Marty Smith about college football. I am going to risk my own well-being because if you didn't watch College Game Day this weekend, Marty Smith, Ryan McGee, who are honestly my favorite weekend show, and I do a weekend show, all right? But they're the best. They did an entire feature on fall weddings. An entire feature on fall weddings. And I am going to ask if I committed the ultimate sin of college football by having a fall wedding. I am going to ask the man to his face to address me to my face and tell me if I have fallen short of the glory of football. We'll talk about that with Marty Smith from ESPN coming up at 9 a.m. Let's run to a break. We are football heavy. Other stuff to get into. World Series is set. It is a battle of the corporations. This is like if, this is like what would have happened if DX never existed. Just corporations. The Yankees, the Dodgers. They start up on Friday. We'll talk about how those two teams got here. WNBA title won last night at home by the New York Liberty in an overtime thriller. Russell Wilson back as a starter for the Steelers, and they trounce the New York Jets last night. 35, 15, 37, 15? I don't even remember. I went to bed. I woke up this morning and read it. I'm not going to lie. We're breaking it all down this morning on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I'll give you this, Joe. You know how I feel about your New York Mets. Not a fan. You guys were the most compelling postseason team. Not that that counts for anything and not that that hangs any banners, but I did have fun. As much as I hate your team, I had fun watching it, for sure. I started a DIY project last night. Not wrestling. When you said I'm allowed to build a fire pit, phase 1 is complete. That took me 6 hours. It hurts. Everything hurts. So when Rob's Palace of Fire and Football is completed, you're welcome to come over, sit by the fire, and watch some college football because we're hanging a TV on the wall right in front of it. I'm never leaving my house again. Or at least not till it's hot.
Is it going to be done this football season?
It's going to be done by election night. I want it done by election night. I'm going home today to tamp down the dirt and level it out. And then tomorrow I go pick up the gravel to lay down and then dig the actual pit. And then hopefully by Saturday, I'll be down to laying the border around it, and then we'll be ready to roll. I'm really excited.
Our expert team will discuss your health goals, help determine the root causes of your weight issues, and put you on a path to success. Go to mynewlifeweightloss.com now.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed cracks in your drywall, chimney, or exterior walls? I hope not, because if you have, they can be indications that you've got a much bigger problem with your foundation. That's where Mount Valley Foundation Services comes in. A groundwork.
We were like,
they can honestly assess.
I was like 4 hours in because I had to dig up the yard, and the yard is clay underneath the grass, right? So I had to dig up the yard, and it took me that long, like 4 hours in. Once I had it like done and leveled, Courtney's like, how come you aren't handy more often around the house? Well, at this point, she had given me like 6 new projects she wants me to do after I get done with the fire pit. And I'm like, because every time I do something, you make me do more things.
That's a normal thing. Here's what you need to do is never finish anything. And then if you never finish anything, then you're never asked to start it. Just saying it.
Oh, so Joe, the part of the reason I decided to do this was because there is 2 big trees and like 20 branches around my yard. I have firewood stocked for the season already. So I was like, I might as well build a fire pit. We got the wood for it now. Yeah, we're going to, we're going camping. We're going my wife's version of camping this weekend. But next weekend, I'm hoping I'll be able to light a fire and sit outside with the TV and enjoy.
I've had a fire pit for years. I just don't use it anymore.
We have like a standalone pit, like a raised kind of thing. And we don't ever use it, but it's because like there's not really like an outdoor area where it's like enjoyable for anything more than just the fire pit. So I'm like, if I lay out some nice gravel and like we're going to get some Adirondack chairs and put the TV outside. If I put a TV outside and there's chairs and stuff outside, I will be out there every night. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob, the great one, Lonzo, with you, reacting to all things football from the weekend. South Carolina goes out to Norman, Oklahoma, taking on a Boomer Sooner team that was reeling after they got embarrassed last weekend by Texas. And South Carolina hands them back-to-back embarrassments. And I think, for me anyway, the story right now about the Gamecocks of South Carolina has been that twice they have been up against it. Twice they have had to go on the road to an opponent ranked inside the top 25, coming off of an embarrassment. Twice they have had the schedule stacked against them. And while they did not win both games, they went to Alabama and by the way, before anybody tries to denigrate that game against Alabama by going, wait a minute, Rob, they lost again the next weekend. As somebody who was broadcasted in Alabama footprints my entire career, that Tennessee rivalry is every bit as dirty down and nasty as the Auburn rivalry. Like the Auburn rivalry gets the press. Alabama, Tennessee is a filthy rivalry, dude. They do not like each other. Not even a little bit. Nick Saban said on game day, that he had an easier time getting his guys up and hyped for the Tennessee rivalry than he did the Iron Bowl. And while there is a little part of me that's like, that's just Nick taking a shot at Auburn fans because they gave him a microphone, why not? As somebody who's been around that rivalry, that Tennessee-Alabama rivalry for a long time, I broadcasted down in the Florida Panhandle. The Florida Panhandle, we refer to it affectionately as Lower Alabama. We call where I grew up L.A., Lower Alabama. The Tennessee-Alabama rivalry is as good as any rivalry you'll find anywhere when it comes to the fan interaction and how much these teams hate each other. It just doesn't get the publicity for one reason or the next. That was by the way, Jalen Milroe. What the hell happened to Jalen Milroe? Jalen Milroe is college Jalen Hurts right now. Like he had it, and then he don't had it no more. I don't know what's going on with Jalen Milroe. It's a bad loss for Alabama in that they lost against Vanderbilt, and obviously the narrative right now is that Kalen DeBoer's squad is falling apart before our very eyes, but I caution you in writing them off as of right now. That Tennessee rivalry is a nasty one. But I think today there's the potential for the narrative around South Carolina to be written thusly. Well, yeah, you were in a fight, but you lost to a bad Alabama team. In fact, I was driving to work this morning, and I was listening to Sirius XM. I was listening to their overnight college football program. And the two hosts on the overnight college football program on Sirius XM this morning were like, we all know that Alabama's a bad football team now, right? Like, we all see it. It's not a bad team. And they had a bad loss. That loss at Vanderbilt is an atrocious loss. I'm not trying to sugarcoat that at all. It's a bad loss. But the loss to Tennessee on the road at Tennessee in good old Rocky Top. Woo. I don't have full woo in me right now. It's not there.
Yeah, I'm not playing Ric Flair for that.
Woo. That's all I got for right now. It's not an atrocious. It's not a loss.
I don't think Ric Flair's jumped to that team yet, has he?
Tennessee? Yeah. I actually think he has done something with Tennessee.
He's been a fan of just about every team. So
I got to find out if there's got to be Ric Flair in a Tennessee jersey somewhere. Ric Flair will wear any jersey if you invite him to the stadium for sure. That Tennessee loss, that UT loss, is not the worst loss for Alabama. So South Carolina, you are going to hear people denigrate your loss on the road at Alabama because of Alabama's loss on the road at Tennessee. Don't let them do that. All right? Don't let them do that. It's a good Tennessee team. I said coming into the year, I believe in the hype bull. I believe in Tennessee. That's a good team. Nico's a good quarterback. They got talent on the outside around Squirrel White. Like, that's a good team. Don't denigrate the loss or the loss to Alabama because of Alabama's loss to Tennessee. You went in there, you punched a good team in the mouth, you came up a tick short. And then you go out to Oklahoma. I heard the same thing. This morning. Well, now we know Oklahoma stinks. Don't get me wrong. Alabama does stink. Alabama absolutely stinks.
That narrative.
Oklahoma.
Narrative's been around forever. Well, if you got beat by South Carolina, it's just proof you're not a good team. It's like, oh, okay. Whatever, dude.
Did
you watch that game?
Oh no, I did. Oklahoma stinks.
I'm talking about to the people. South Carolina looked pretty good.
South Carolina did look good. Let me.
When have they looked bad?
Let me see.
One bad game.
Two bad games, but not the point. Not the point. Here's what I'm saying. You're going to hear today that the 35-9 win over Oklahoma isn't as impressive as it was made to be. You're going to hear that it wasn't as impressive as it's made to be because now we know that Oklahoma stinks. And Oklahoma's not good. Let's be clear. They were overhyped coming into the year. I thought they were overhyped coming into the year. I didn't understand what the love was about. With all due respect to Jackson Arnold, who was 50%, 18 of 36, 225, and a touch. Both of the picks were credited to Michael Hawkins Jr. Jackson Arnold's an okay quarter. He's okay. There's nothing stellar, nothing spectacular. He's very okay. All right. He has had one 200-yard game and it was against South Carolina. And the only reason he got to 200 yards was because the Gamecocks were up 21-0 in the first quarter. Oklahoma could not run the ball anymore. They ended with 53 rushing yards. They couldn't run the ball anymore. So don't let them denigrate your team because Oklahoma's team isn't good, and they're not. You went in there, you imposed your will defensively right out of the gate, and and this is absolutely a compliment to the football team, you made Oklahoma change their play style. You made Oklahoma play football in a way that they don't want to play. You made them one-dimensional. You said, you guys are going to have to throw to catch up with us from behind. And they weren't able to do it. Now, Lonzo also pointed out that there are things that can be done better for South Carolina. Running the football is one of them. Rocket Sanders had 33 yards on 15 carries. That is slightly over 2 yards a carry from your number one running back.
Yeah, like 2 yards. I don't know.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. When you are sitting on a 3-tutty lead, when you are sitting on a, 30-32 to 3 at halftime? When you're sitting on a lead that is 20 points or better, I need you got to be able to run the football. Now, obviously, context matters. Oklahoma started stacking the box. Why wouldn't you? You knew at that point South Carolina's going to run the ball to kill as much clock as they can. But I can't have you end the game. And by the way, there were 13 negative running yards attributed at the end of the year to Davis Bevel. But I can't have you end a game where you're up 32 to 3 at the half with 76 rushing yards. Even if Oklahoma stack in the box, the run game's got to get better. Lenora Sellers, 16 of 24, $175 at a touch. By the way, that touchdown pass, spectacular. I mean, just a dot. Spectacular. But even with the game going the way it was, I still think there were some points where you could see that there's room for growth in Lenora Sellers.
As I was saying to my wife Saturday night, imagine last year's offense with this year's defense for South Carolina.
I mean, yes.
You don't think Spencer Rattler would have done a little bit better?
I think the way I would put that is imagine Rat Daddy on this offense. Not last year's offense. Imagine Rat Daddy on this offense, or Xavier Leggett on this offense.
Yeah, I would never use that term because it's weird.
Talk about Rat Daddy?
Yeah, it's not working. I know you think it's going. It's
working.
not. No, it's not.
100%.
What?
100%.
With two people?
No, there's also the texter who coined it. That's 3.
Okay, all right.
I had Keegan saying it the other day at the bar. That's 4.
Come on, don't be a follower, man.
We're all in on the
Don't
Rat
be
Daddy
a follower
wagon.
on this thing. This thing, it's not good. It's just not.
Rat Daddy is a wagon.
Is it? Dude,
It's a wagon.
It's a wagon with plenty of room on it right now.
It's a wagon. But by the way, this isn't me kicking the legs out from underneath Lenora Sellers. He did more than enough.
You talked about that pass. I mean, the future of what the expectations of what he can do if he continues to grow. It looks really good for the next couple of years. Can they continue to play this kind of defense the next couple of years, though?
It looks good on the assumption that Lenora Sellers is going to keep getting better.
Hey, did you know that if the SEC championship happened today, it would be Texas A&M versus LSU?
I didn't know that.
Texas A&M is 4-0 in conference. LSU is 3-0 in conference. On top of the SEC. So Georgia and Texas would not play for the SEC championship.
Oh, we're coming to Georgia and Texas. Specifically you, Kirby Smart. Specifically you Longhorn fans. When it comes to South Carolina and what I saw this weekend, defensively, that's what we've been waiting for. Do not let them sit here and do what I think a lot of hosts are going to do today and try to knock down the impressiveness of that win because Oklahoma's not that good. And they're not, just so we're clear. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you went in there, you punched them directly in the junk, and you made them play your football game. I will say this. I don't love only a field goal in the second half. I don't love that it felt to me like you weren't coming for blood in the second half. I don't love that it feels like you got uber conservative in the second half for no reason when what you were doing put up 32 points in the first half and then you just stopped. But you had the ability to do that because you put up 32 points in the first half. We're going to talk more about this game. We'll talk Clemson and Virginia coming up. John Blau at 8:40. ESPN's Marty Smith at 9 o'clock. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. Oh, I got a link.
Just noticed you're wearing a hat today. You don't want to go swoop versus swoop.
Who am I versus swooping?
Marty Smith.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, you just conceded already. It's like, nope, can't win. No.
No, he's goat swoop.
Come on.
No, this really was.
Looking forward to that competition.
This really was. I was trying to get here a little early this morning because I had stuff to do, and I did.
We all got stuff to do. We just, just could have went swoop versus swoop.
I literally sent him the link, and at the same time that I sent it, I get an email pop through that said he got sent on assignment, so we're going to have to reschedule.
So no Marty Smith. It's always risky to tease in radio.
I know, and I literally said it on Friday. I'm like, I don't even know that I'm going to say it because as soon as I say it, something's going to happen.
Must have been watching the stream and realized it was not going to be swoop versus swoop. It's like, nah, I'm not going. Send me on an assignment.
Dude, that ruins my morning. I'm not even kidding.
Well, also the fact that you got to cover that segment now. I
don't care about that. Yapping has never been a problem for me. Just, I really like Marty Smith, so I was I've been excited about this interview all weekend long. It's like one thing when you get told and it's like a day ahead, it's like, cool. It's another thing when you've been building it up for 4 days.
So I guess what we're learning here is that Marty and McGee don't like you.
That's true.
That's what we're learning here. Yeah.
I know it's a joke and it made me sad.
That dude gets assigned all over the place, so it's not unusual for that to happen.
Not at all. That dude's probably on an airplane right now.
It's almost as bad as a wrestler. Yeah. Being scheduled. Yeah.
No. I'm sad. Bro, the injury bug in the NFL yesterday was ridiculous. Everybody got hurt.
All that, and there are some people happy about one certain injury.
I mean, in fairness, screw that guy.
See,
I'm not ashamed of that.
And I didn't watch the game, but apparently Jameis still didn't play, or did I see that wrong?
I didn't watch it. I was digging a hole.
I was watching the Chiefs. Yeah.
Lonzo made me sad during the break. I'm kind of bummed out now. I'm not going to lie. Like I was pretty juiced for a Monday show. Lonzo was like, let me ruin that for you. I mean, Lonzo didn't do it, but.
Well, I didn't have to say it. I didn't, because obviously you hadn't thought of it. Now I put it in your brain, and now you're going to be thinking about it all the time.
Because I'm a worst case scenario guy.
Yeah. I've met you.
Got an email during the break that said that unfortunately, Marty Smith is not going to be able to make it today. He got put on assignment and is on an airplane. They thought that he was going to be somewhere in time to be able to pop on at 9 a.m. But unfortunately, the flight schedule that they have him on is not going to put him in a place where he can join the show today. I did get a promise that we would be able to reschedule this and that Marty would end up joining us hopefully sometime maybe later this week. But he got put on assignment, and once they got to the airport and got on the flight, it's not going to work out today, unfortunately. So no Marty Smith today. Now, for those of you that have followed the show for any length of time, you know that there's one other situation that's played out. And that is about, I guess it's been about 2 years now. Year and a half, 2 years ago, I was at you know what? I'm going to say it because there's no shame in my game. I was at a Star Wars metal cover band show, a band called Galactic Empire, of which I'm a big fan. They play Star Wars music from the movies, but heavy metal style. It's fantastic. And as I was standing over there, absolutely vibing to a heavy metal version of Darth Vader's theme song, the Imperial March, I look over, and P1 buddy of the show, Keegan, taps me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Is that Ryan McGee?" And it sure as hell was. Now Ryan's a big nerd. We know that already, right? He's got his little laptop when they do Marty and McGee, has a Captain America sticker on it, and he's got nerd stuff hanging on the walls. And I'm like, I'll be damned it is. And he's from here. He's from the upstate. So I'm like, I'll be damned it is. And I went over and talked to him. And I'm like, what's up, bud? Great to meet you. Hope all is well. I do sports talk in the air. And McGee sat there at that show, and he talked to me and Keegan and our buddy Andrew, talked to us for like 10, 12 minutes, just kicking the bleep with us a little bit, man. Talking to us about what we did and where we're from the air. Asked a bunch of questions about the show and allowed me to ask him questions about his career and all that. He was phenomenal. And I said at the end, I'm like, hey, man, I'd love to have you on my show one day. And he goes, absolutely no problem. And he goes, here's my phone number. Shoot me a text. I'm like, great. So I texted him. And it wasn't like that weird thing where it's like, yeah, here's my number. And then you go home and you call the number and it's like, thank you for calling Bob's House of Pizza and Pornography. Fake number crap. He texted me back.
That was a weird thing to go with.
It's a joke.
Okay.
I don't actually know if there's a Bob's House of Pizza and Pornography. I assume there is somewhere, right?
Maybe it's just they keep that part in the back.
Killed two birds with one stone.
Okay. All right.
So I texted him. He texted me back. I'm like, I'll get with you. He's like, absolutely. And we texted back and forth for like a couple of days about getting it set up. And it was during football season. So he's like, dude, it's kind of at the whim of the schedule. I'm like, yeah. And then it just kind of fell apart, unfortunately. I've reached out a couple of times, just haven't been able to make it work out. And now Marty Smith was supposed to join us at 9. Got a text, hey, man, he's on assignment. He's got to get on an airplane. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to make it today, but we'll reschedule. And as we're sitting in the break, and I tell Lonzo, hey, got to cancel the Marty Smith interview. We'll reschedule it for down the line. Lonzo goes, maybe Marty and McGee just don't like you that much. And like, I know it's a joke, but also it made me a little sad. It really did, because I'm a big fan. I don't think that's what happened here. I genuinely think Ryan, during football season, these guys are everywhere. They're on game day. They got their own show. They're on the SEC network. They're freaking everywhere. And the schedule is absolutely hectic. I'm aware of that. And I got no question at all that, yeah, Marty Smith's on a plane right now, flying to wherever game day is, deciding on going next week to get his feature stuff lined up and get ready for Saturday and all that. And that's all well and good. But Lonzo said, hey, Rob, you ever consider the fact that maybe they think you suck and they just don't like you?
It'd really be messed up if he was on a flight to Clemson.
Dude, that would be infuriating. Watch him next week. Like, yeah, we spent the week in Greenville, South Carolina. We went back to where Ryan's from. We're just hanging out in his hometown of the Berg, Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Catch me out tonight on Wire to Wire.
I can't. Wait, why would you wake up and choose violence today?
It is Monday.
Yeah, it is Monday. Speaking of it being Monday, you know what Monday is? It's Overreaction Monday. So, kids, I'm looking for your overreactions today. I'm looking for your overreactions from the football weekend. I got a handful that I'll get to you. Number one, that was from Ole Miss to Alabama to Oklahoma. Great one. This is the most development, the most progress we have seen under Shane Beamer for any 3-game span anywhere in his years at the helm of the Gamecocks. I think this team has gotten mo better from Ole Miss to Alabama to Oklahoma. I think we have seen a more improved version of Gamecock football over that 3-week span than any 3-week span from Shane Beamer's entire tenure in Columbia. You go back and rack your brain for any of the year 1, year 2. Is there any 3-game span where, and this is just for me, but is there any 3-game span where your view of the program and the product that they put on the field feels like it had an upward trajectory like it does right now? Because for me, it does not. Right now, it feels to me as if this program has raised its stock more from Ole Miss to Oklahoma than in any 3-week span since he's been there. And I was blown away. I was doing bet for the cycle the last 2 weeks, doing bet for the cycle during the end of the Alabama game, doing bet for the cycle during the Oklahoma game. And it got to the point that we just started talking South Carolina. I made the nation. I want you all to know, I made the nation listen to me talk about South Carolina football for like 12 minutes because of that game this weekend.
Wow, that's power.
Yeah, it is pretty. I'm not going to lie. I went to my head a little bit. Dex, like, we got World Series talk. I'm like, yeah. But hear me out. 21-0 Gamecocks. 21-0 South Carolina.
But it's how it happened and how fast it happened.
I was like, legit.
It was like 5 minutes. Yeah.
We were doing a segment when the game started. And for those of you that haven't seen the Bro Cave, I've got my little studio set up where I stream, and I got 2 TVs on the wall above that, and then I have 2 computers, right? So I got 3 football games going on the TVs ahead of me, and then I got the 70-inch off to my left. And the 70-inch, I usually put, whatever the big game of that window is, or I go with the YouTube TV 4 multi-view thing. So I had it on the multi-view, and we're doing a segment. And I'm the college football guy on the show, so I'm like, all right, coming up here, we got so-and-so in Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Clemson, Virginia, and we got this, and then we do a segment talking about the NLCS or whatever. We do a segment, finish the segment, turn around, look at the TV, and it was like this, though. Like, I look at the TV, and then I had to, do a classic television double take. Like, somebody at ESPN screwed up. It's supposed to be, I guess, 2-0, and it's 21-0. Somebody done screwed up. And then I turn back around, and I'm like, wait a minute. That's a replay of a pick 6. Again? Again?
It's one of those things when you're watching, and I was watching, do you just start laughing? Like, are you serious? Did they really just do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
impressive.
Yeah, it was.
So I turn around the deck and I'm like, yo, go Cox. This is incredible. By the way, there is nothing funnier in the world than when I told Cody Decker, if you're talking South Carolina football, you're allowed to say go Cox on the radio. And he lost his mind. He's like, wait, Odyssey can't fire me for this? No, why would they? We're talking South Carolina Gamecock football. That's the name of the team. Let's go. So at that point, it turned into a solid 8 minutes of Gamecock football on national radio. All right. That's what your team's done in 3 weeks. Your team went. Then we had, by the way, we had a college football guest on, a national writer, the next segment. And I open with, hey, South Carolina's up 21-0 on Oklahoma right now. Does this say more about Oklahoma or South Carolina? And he said, it says the exact same about both of them. Yeah, it says that OU is not as good as OU was expected to be. He goes, but the fact that South Carolina is in their house the week after they got embarrassed by Texas and is not just beating them, but is doing this to them, that tells me that Shane Beamer may have found a switch and flipped it. May have found a little something and turned it on a little bit. It's not just me that was saying that. It's not just me that believes that. We had national folks on our show Saturday that were like, yeah, we should spend a few minutes talking South Carolina. This is the most improvement I have seen in any 3-week span during Shane Beamer's entire time in Columbia, South Carolina. That's my hot take. I want yours. It is Overreaction Monday. Texter said, Rob, as a Florida State fan, we suck so bad, we should release the whole team and coaching staff and start over. Lonzo, things aren't great down in Tallahassee. Friday night, they fall to the Duke Blue Devils. Florida State had an Undertaker at WrestleMania streak going. They were 23-0 against Duke. And now Manny Diaz has put the 1 in 23-1. Florida State, speaking of 1, that's how many wins they have. It's week 8. They have 1 win. Sorry, going into week 9. They have 1 win. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good for you there, Florida State fan, Texter. You're correct. Texter said uncooked hot dogs are better. No, they're not. That's just objectively false. Objectively false.
I love that they're joining in with me on just having fun with you.
I now acknowledge that people eat uncooked hot dogs like sociopaths, but to say that they are better than a grilled hot dog is flat out bull.
Yeah, you hadn't heard of that before until we brought it up. It's
correct.
It's no difference than eating bologna out of the package.
Sure, I am even willing to acknowledge that that's a thing people do. I don't like it. I don't accept it. I think you're psychopaths, but I accept that people do it. But to say that that's better than a cooked hot dog is lunacy. That's psychopathic behavior.
When you're hungry, who wants to wait?
Texas said I had to look up Galactic Empire. 100% hooked. They are awesome. They are awesome. They're so good. I will spread the good word of Galactic Empire here on the show. It is a Star Wars heavy metal cover band. And by the way, they play here all the time. They played here like 2 months ago, and I think they're coming back in like January, February. Texter, next time they're in town, shoot me a text. I'll go with you. That's how fantastic they are. All right, we got to run to a break, top of the hour. And when we come back here in just a minute, water cooler cheat sheet, top 3 stories you need to know. Unless you're a Panthers fan, then it's top 2 stories you want to know, and also the results of the Carolina Panther game. That's coming up next after Lonzo absolutely seduces you with this sports flash.
That's an overreaction. The World Series is set after the LA Dodgers eliminated the New York Mets last night, winning 10-5 and taking the series 4-2. The Dodgers will represent the National League against the American League New York Yankees in the World Series, which begins Friday night in LA. The new AP Top 25 is dropped, with the Oregon Ducks securing the top spot for the first time in 12 years. The Ducks are followed by Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas in the top 5, with Miami, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, and Iowa State rounding out the top 10. Clemson. Alabama falls to 15. Boise State claims 17. Army and Navy are 23 and 24. And Vanderbilt makes their first appearance since 2013 at number 25. Make sure you tune in this Friday at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels head to Spartanburg to take on the Vikings. It's Burns versus Spartanburg right here on your home for Burns Rebels football. The Fan, Upstate. Thought I fixed that. I guess I didn't. Sorry about that, Steven. Surgery sucks. Hopefully it fixes the things that need to be fixed, though. So I think whoever created rugs hates human beings.
Rugs?
Rugs.
Rugs.
R-U-G-S. Rugs.
Why?
Because of my constantly being injured by rugs. And I know you could say, pick your feet up, Lonzo. Well, you know what? Sometimes
that sounds like a you problem.
No, I hate rugs. And I would burn every single one of them in the house, not while they're in the house. I would take them outside, put them in the fire pit or the creek, something, and just catch them on fire. I've had so many injured toes because of this. And then more and more, I keep thinking about how old people fall. And now I know why. It's rugs. So when I'm put in the home at some point, I request now that while I'm somewhat coherent, to please make sure there are no rugs in my room. Okay? So if you guys could help me out there and make sure that doesn't happen. This morning I went to kick the cat's toy for the cat because she likes to chase the toy and bring it back. And
rug?
No, I got the two middle toes underneath the rug, and it hurt. Okay, my toes hurt, so I'm forced to wear the old shoes today because my toes are swollen. Because rugs suck. I hate rugs.
I don't have anything to help you with.
So you've never tripped over a rug? Do you have rugs in your house?
Never done it, but we have rugs in every room in my house.
But why?
Constantly
What's the point of rugs?
Stuff.
I mean, especially if you have carpet. Why do you have rugs on top of carpet?
To add some color, some flair.
For who? Nobody comes to my house.
Do you hang stuff on your walls? For who?
That's
nobody comes to your house.
No, that's for me.
Okay. We like color on the floors.
Okay.
Like on the ceilings.
All right. No, it's a trap, man. It is a trap.
Steven, my dude, good vibes your way, buddy. Good vibes your way. I love that you're in a waiting room for surgery and you're listening to this show. Respect.
QC in the first break.
QC in the first break. Off we go into hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo with you. Rolling through a 4-hour sports talk extravaganza every weekday morning from 6 until 10 a.m. Be a part of the show. The renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone is open at 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. You can text the show. The text line is open at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. FAN, F-A-N. We are looking for your overreactions on an Overreaction Monday. We are looking for your hot takes on a Monday morning. What's your football overreaction from the weekend? We'll get to those coming up on the show this morning. And don't forget, the Ray Memorial Hotline is open for you. Go to the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Go to the Fan Upstate page, click on the little microphone button, and drop your 60-second voice note that comes straight to the great one and I. Go to the Odyssey app on your phone, on your tablet, wherever you have the Odyssey app downloaded. Go to the Fan Upstate page, click on the little microphone button, and drop your 60-second voice note for the great one and I. The Ray Memorial Hotline is open for you as well. All the different ways for you to get in touch with the show, as well as X at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo Onward, or at The Fan Upstate if you're trying to get at everybody up in here.
Why'd you do like the Centurion salute?
No, I don't know why I felt the need to point to myself to separate at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo Onward. Oof. Speaking of being weird, we got a new John Gruden TikTok to listen to later. Oof. Can't wait. Audio Blitz at 8 o'clock. It's going to be part of that. It might be the first thing we listen to be honest with you. I'm jacked about it. All right. It is 7:02 in the morning. You got less than 58 minutes till you got to get your behind up in the office and start working. Nobody wants to work. It's Monday. What you want to do is take that break, walk down to the water cooler, and talk sports with your coworkers. But, of course, if you're going to do that, you got to know what's going on in the sports, right? That's why Lonzo and I do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
The second one felt personal if we're keeping it a buck.
I was equal representation.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair.
They both won this
fair.
weekend.
I believe it's called the Fairness Doctrine. All schools must be given equal time on the show.
Well, D1. I mean, because if we get into 2 and 3, it's going to take a while.
What up, Jackrabbits? Item number 1. 27 plus years ago, the New York Liberty played in the very first WNBA game. 27 years later, they can finally refer to themselves as WNBA champions. 27 years plus after playing for the league's inaugural championship and a number of several misses in the process, they knocked off the Minnesota Lynx 67-62 in overtime last night to bring home the crown to the Big Apple. Breanna Stewart sealed the win with a pair of free throws with 10.1 seconds left in the extra period. After Leonie Fibich stole a pass, the Liberty dribbled out the clock on a victory that was as dramatic as any of the others in the WNBA Finals. A 3-2 series win for the Liberty in front of a packed house at the Barclays Center last night. Battled back from a 7-point halftime deficit to take a 47-44 lead heading into the fourth quarter. It felt like it was going to get done there. Instead, the Lynx came firing back with 6.3 seconds left in regulation. Liberty had the ball trailing 60-58. Brianna Stewart fouled by Elena Smith. A call the Lynx challenge. The officials upheld the penalty, deemed the challenge unsuccessful. Stewart would hit both free throws to tie the game at 60 apiece. Kayla McBride launched a three for Minnesota that did not fall. The game went to overtime. In her post-game press conference, Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve said, "This was stolen from us," quote unquote. One of two coaches, Hi Curbs, that said that they had a big problem with officiating in the extra period. Naira Sabali and Brianna Stewart had their biggest moments so far. Sabali had 13 points and 7 boards last night. Here's the weird thing. The Liberty shot just 30.6% from the field. Sabrina Ionescu made 1 of 19 shots from the field, finished with 5 points. And despite those struggles, she did have 8 assists and 7 rebounds. But it was Jonquel Jones who was named the Finals MVP, led New York with 17 points. Started this series plus 1,100 to 1 to win Finals MVP. Ties Diana Taurasi for the third most career points in the Finals. She had 320 when the game was over last night, playing in her 4th career Finals after previously losing with the Sun in 2019 and 2022, and with the Liberty last year. She gets her ring, and it comes along with an MVP title. The Liberty gave the Big Apple their first major professional basketball championship since the Knicks last did it in 1973. That was 16 years before the oldest player on the Liberty's roster, 35-year-old Courtney Vandersloot, was even born at that point. After 5 previous tries to win the title, the Liberty now have a crown to place atop the head of the Statue of Liberty on their logo. Let's go now to item number 2. Your World Series will begin on Friday, and it is now set. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees will match up for baseball's highest honor. The Dodgers last night absolutely blasting the New York Mets, a 10-5 pennant-clinching victory over the Mets in Game 6 of the NLCS last night. Dave Roberts on the microphone said, quote, "I've never believed in a group of guys more than I believe in this guys, but more importantly, they believe in each other." It was all Dodgers from the get-go last night. A whole bunch of dingers early in the game, and then they just stayed on top of the Mets for the rest of the ride. On the flip side, the Yankees able to get it done against the Guardians on Saturday night to clinch the AL pennant. So the two big dogs, the two most expensive teams in Major League Baseball, will now compete for a World Series title. That begins on Friday night. And finally, let's get to item number 3. Palmetto State football wrap-up from the weekend. We start with yesterday when the Carolina Panthers got demolished by the Washington Commanders. And here's the worst part. It was largely without rookie phenom Jaden Daniels. He played 1 drive, was 2 of 2 for 6 yards, did have 50 rushing yards on 3 carries before he had to exit the game with a rib injury, and he was replaced with former Atlanta Falcons starter turned Commanders backup, Marcus Mariota. Mariota went 18 of 23 for 205 yards and a pair of tutties. He also ran 11 times for 34 yards. As the Commanders throttled the Cats yesterday. Andy Dalton, 11 of 16 for 93 yards, no touchdowns, and a pair of interceptions, was also sacked twice. Bryce Young checked in for the final drive, went 2 of 2 for minus 4 yards. 2 of 2 for minus 4 yards. Not great. Chuba Hubbard had the lone score for the Cats, 17 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. It was the only touchdown of the game, obviously, and it came late in the game against a handful of Commander backups. The Cats ran for 95 yards on the day. Things are not good, and I know that because of what we're going to talk about coming up here in a minute. Deontay Johnson's over it. He's over it. They asked him in the locker room what went wrong, and he said, I don't know what to tell you. I'm frustrated. I can't play every position. Deontay had one catch for 17 yards yesterday, so exactly going great for him either. We'll break this game down at length a little bit later in the show, but things did not go well for the Cats. Down to college football we go, where the Clemson Tigers did exactly what they were supposed to do, despite the fact that they were missing a trio of their best wide receivers. Clemson gets it done 48-31 over Virginia. Cade Klubnik would finish the day 22 of 35, 308 yards, 3 tutties, and a pick in this one. Phil Maffa, 78 yards on 18 carries. He put it into the end zone twice. Antonio Williams stuck it in once on the ground, 1 carry, 36 yards, and it hit pay dirt through the air. TJ Moore, your leading wide receiver, with 78 yards on 4 grabs. Troy Stiletto, 74 yards on 7 grabs. 345 total yards for the Clemson Tigers through the air, as Antonio Williams did have a 34-yard pass, and Chris Vezina checked in, went 1 for 1, and added 3 yards as well. Also held the Virginia Cavaliers to just 68 rushing yards on the day. Did that defense. Listen, this team was banged up. This team had some injuries at the wide receiver spot, and yet they still made it work. I will say defensively, there were some spots that I think Clemson's got some stuff to clean up, but considering the run that they are on to 6-1 now, it's exactly what you were expected to do. 48-31 your final there. And finally, South Carolina 35-9 winners over the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners. Lenora Sellers, 16 of 24, $175 and a touch on the ground, just 74 rushing yards for South Carolina last night, Saturday afternoon. 33 of them coming off the legs of Raheem Sanders on 15 carries. He did have a touchdown in that game. You're going, wait a minute, Rob, that's only 2 offensive touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. And you would be correct. So how did they score 35 points? The answer is because the defense was not playing last night. Nick Imanwari had a pair of picks. He stuck 1 into the back of the end zone. You also had a couple of field goals from Alex Herrera, 2 of 2, including a 39-yarder on the day. Listen, I have only one complaint, and that only complaint is the fact that South Carolina, it felt to me, though maybe I'm wrong, it felt to me like South Carolina let off the gas a little bit in the second half, right? Like you had these dudes down. You put up 21 in the first quarter. You stacked up 11 more in the second. It was 32-3 at the half, and it just felt like you let off the gas offensively. Like this felt to me like a game. And I know Oklahoma made some adjustments at the half, but turns out you're allowed to do that as well. This felt to me like a game where the Gamecocks needed to get into the 40s. It's very interesting because I can already hear the tap of a bunch of Gamecock fans going, hey, Rob, we won 35-9. Maybe chill out a little bit. It's a good win. In fact, I spent the first hour saying you are going to hear hosts today across America that are going to try to denigrate the win of the Gamecocks over the Sooners by telling you how crappy the Sooners are, how bad they are at football. And they are. I'm not arguing that they aren't. What I am saying is you did everything you needed to do. You dictated this game to them. You take advantage of their offensive mistakes when the game was in question early in it. You just kept attacking, and that's exactly what I wanted to see. I also said I don't think it's that particularly much of a hot take. I think the progression of this team from Ole Miss week through Bama week to Oklahoma week is maybe the most improvement I have seen out of the Gamecocks in any 3-week span since Shane Beamer took over as the head coach of the program. It's a very impressive win. It's exactly what I wanted. It's actually more that I wanted to see. What did I say? I said this actually feels more like a you should win this game than the Bama game did. It felt more like you should be in charge of this game than the Bama game did. But you went out there, you took advantage of the mistakes early, you busted up their rotating quarterbacks of Arnold and Hawkins Jr., you put a couple into the back of the end zone, and you did what you're supposed to do. I would have liked to see a little bit of bloodthirst in the second half, a little bit of let's go run this thing up. Let's go get 50 while we're here on the road and we've got the opportunity. I felt like you got uber conservative in the second half, and I don't particularly love that, but I also understand it. Getting this dub was massively important, especially understanding what the narrative would have been this morning if you would have been up 32-3 at the half and allowed Oklahoma, forget win, even to come back in this game. The narrative would have been nasty around it. So you do what you got to do to protect the lead and protect the football, and you did exactly that. Need the run game to get better. There is no arguing that. Need to see a little bit more bloodthirst, I think, in the second half. The old step on them while they're down mentality, but it's a good win. It's a very good win against the team in Oklahoma that had every reason to come out and try to be juggernauts this weekend, and they didn't because they couldn't. Good win for the Gamecocks.
So expectations now, a good bowl game?
I think that's more than fair, honestly. I mean, I still, here's what I don't want to do. What I don't want to do is allow this win and the Bama game to suddenly skew the expectations way forward. Let's not point out, or let's not forget to point out, you got Texas A&M coming to the house this weekend. Excuse me. You got Texas A&M coming to the house next weekend.
Number 1 in the SEC, Texas A&M.
And number, 14 coming in nationally and now rising through the ranks as they get another good win. You still got A&M. Then you're on the road at Vanderbilt. Years gone by, this was a win we considered a lock, right? Oh, here's a green dub for Shane. You go ahead and circle that one on the calendar as one of his wins. Maybe not. Then again, the team that beat Bama, the team that beat who'd they beat this past weekend? Last weekend. I forgot already. Who did Vanderbilt beat? It wasn't Arkansas. Who the hell did Vanderbilt beat after Alabama? I'm
Kentucky?
blanking.
Was it Kentucky?
Yes, Kentucky. The team that beat Bama, the team that beat Kentucky, had a dogfight with Ball State this weekend, right? So, like, again, top 25 team, not a great one, but a good one.
Sometimes you remember who you are. I mean, it's like, wait.
Yeah. So you got Vandy, and it is on the road. Then you got Missouri, as I told you coming in. I actually think, though, that's a win for South Carolina. Missouri is a very mediocre team. Then you got Wofford and Clemson. You got to get 2 out of A&M, Vandy, Mizzou, Wofford, and Clemson. If that team that played Oklahoma's there, if that team that played Alabama's there, Lonzo, there's 2 more wins coming. Remember the beginning of the year, I said the roof's 8-4, realistic is 6-6, underperforming is 5-7 or worse. I think 6 is in the table. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Lonzo, I think there's, at 4-3, I think there's 7 wins out there. I'm going to say right now, A&M's a loss. I'm going to say at Clemson is a loss. I think Vandy, Mizzou, and Wofford are all beatable football teams. But what did I say last week?
I think Clemson needs to be afraid of this defense. I mean, I know you just made a face, but Clemson needs to be afraid of South Carolina's defense.
I want to see
if it continues to improve and play the way they're playing. Look out.
If they play that way against A&M, because again, not trying to denigrate. I already said, don't let them denigrate this. Oklahoma's offense sucks. They fired their offensive coordinator like an hour after this game was over. Oklahoma's offense is garbage. It's bad. It's not good. It's flat out, outright bad. Do that against A&M at home. Do that on the second against A&M. Then I'll see your face and I'm a believer. Yeah. Do it against A&M and then I'll believe. Then I'll say, okay, now Clemson's got to be looking ahead a little bit. Don't get diced by A&M. That's it. Because what did I say last week? What was the word of the day? About South Carolina. It's a Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse reference.
I absolutely got it.
No. It's for the Royal U.
Okay, I was shocked that you pulled that out of the bag.
The word of the day, the word of the week last week for South Carolina was what? The C word. Consistency. Show me consistency. Well, now you've done it. You were consistent from Alabama to Oklahoma. Now you've got to step up in talent from Oklahoma and A&M and still do it. If you go right back to inconsistent, then we got a problem. But Vandy, Mizzou, and Wofford are all beatable. That's a 7-5 season. That's expectations. All right, Overreaction Monday. Text me your overreactions from the weekend right now, 71307. Start your text with fan. 71307, start your text with fan. Send your overreactions now. We'll read them and react to them next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, quick live reading. We're coming right back. Stay right there for me. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. Looking for your overreactions to the weekend on an Overreaction Monday. Will texts the show. Will says, Rob, is it just me or does it seem like this year's games are much more exciting to watch, especially in the SEC? Here's what I'll say. I think, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, I think you are seeing the impact of NIL in the portal this year, right? And my breakdown was this. In college days of yesteryear, when a new head coach took over at a university or a college or a school program, whatever you want to call it, when a coach took over, the old adage was you got 3 years, you got to prove yourself in year 4, right? You got to show me upward trajectory to year 3, and in year 4, you got to prove it. And the reason we said that was what? Because 3 years was the amount of time that we said it would take for you to flush the old guys out of the program, to establish your guys in the program, to have your coaching staff solidified, to have your coaching philosophies in place and dictating the direction of the program. Well, this is that year for the transfer portal and for NIL. And one of the arguments in favor of the portal and NIL was that it would spread the talent around. It would make it to where guys that might go to a Georgia or to an Ohio State and be bench riders for 2 or 3 years and then only have that junior and senior year to break out would now have an opportunity and a reason to maybe go to schools that were less blue blood and make them good. Well, look at the AP Top 25. The Oregon Ducks, the Georgia Bulldogs, the Penn State Nittany Lions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, and Texas are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But here's the thing. And Lonzo S is back in the first hour. Who's the best team in college football right now? I do think it's the Oregon Ducks. But I go back to the first 3-4 weeks of the season. Took Oregon a little while to get rolling. And the thing about a team that it takes a little while to get rolling is if they hit a roadblock and they trip up and stumble somewhere, it can take them a while to get rolling again. So I don't think the Oregon Ducks are like head and shoulders above Georgia. In fact, right now, I think that game, there's no spread on that game. I think that's a pick'em game. Penn State is 6-0. Penn State, as well as having to be concerned about that James Franklin annual crap the bed moment. James Franklin's best win right now is Illinois. We all wanted to say it was at USC, but USC stinks. They're 3-3. That's not that impressive of a win for Penn State. So respectfully to Penn State, much like I said about Texas going into this game against Georgia, I hate this argument, but sometimes the argument's the argument for a reason. They ain't played nobody, Paul. Texas ain't played nobody. They had the 59th best schedule in football to date when they played Georgia. Georgia B-slapped them, right? James Franklin ain't beat nobody. The best win they have now, and credit to them, but the best win they have now are the Illini of Illinois. That's the best. And granted, Illinois B-slapped Michigan, but Michigan stinks too, right? Not that good. So I got the Buckeyes at 4, Texas at 5, then Miami, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, Iowa State. If I asked you who the best team was out of that group, Miami, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, or Iowa State, could you tell me? I can't. Then I'll add BYU at 11. I'll add Notre Dame at 12, a Notre Dame team that, frankly, should be undefeated. Have a terrible loss to Northern Illinois, but they've been very good since then. Indiana 7-0. And I got to tell you, I don't think Indiana is as bad as a lot of people are still pretending they are, despite the fact that not only are they 7-0, but they absolutely ransacked Nebraska. And you know how I feel about Nebraska. I like that team. The Aggies of Texas A&M, are they in that mix? Yes. Bama's 5-2 with a loss to Vandy. We're going to
find out about Nebraska this weekend.
We are going to find out about Nebraska very quickly. Is it a bounce back spot for them? Texas A&M. Is A&M the leader? I mean, as Lonzo pointed out, they're in the SEC championship if that game's played today. Are they in the mix? I think so. The point that I'm making here is, yeah, college football is exciting. Why? Because the talent has been spread out, and there's a lot of teams that are all on the level with each other. It's not like it used to be where they were like two or three dominant teams. Then we just got to put somebody in that fourth playoff spot. If you just look at, let's say, I don't know, do we put Kansas State in that group? They destroyed West Virginia. Boise State's got Ashton Janty. They're a threat against anybody. I mean, I would say 1 through 17, anybody in that mix on a good day could get anybody in the top 3. That's why it's exciting, because the parity is real. All right, we got some more of your overreactions. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. I'm going to come back to those in a minute. But our guy Rick has taken the time to check in this morning. Let's get him in here to talk a little Panther football. Rick, what's up, big fella? How we doing, brother?
Let me tell you, Rob, I am very distressed. I'm a big Panther fan, and how far do I got to go down in the quicksand before something is done, okay? I don't understand what's going on. They looked atrocious yesterday, and let me tell you, they're not getting any better. They're the worst team in football, maybe them and the
Patriots.
New England Patriots. But what can be done? I saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in the 90s when they first started out. They're worse than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were when they went 0-16. Okay?
I will say this, Rick. I don't know what your expectations were coming into this. Mine were 4 wins. Okay? I expected 4 wins out of this team this year. 4-13 was going to be it for me. You're not getting to 4. All right? There's just not 4 wins out there. But there are other aspects, there are other variables. It's either the second or third most banged up team in the NFL. You have lost 3 of your best 4 defensive players to injuries so far. You've lost a couple of offensive linemen. Taylor Moton is down for the year, I believe. It's banged up. What I can say is you've seen sparks that what Canales can do can work, right? You saw it against Cincinnati. You saw it against the Raiders. I would also point out that those were the first 2 games after the quarterback change where there wasn't a lot of tape on Andy Dalton in the Dave Canales system, right? I said that yesterday, and somebody was like, well, Andy Dalton's been in the league 37 years. Of course there's tape. Yes, there is, but there's not tape of him in the Canales system. So I think they were able to jump the Raiders with the QB change. And I think Cincinnati had a little bit of tape, but not a lot to lean on. Now that the tape is out on Andy Dalton, we go back to Andy Dalton being career backup Andy Dalton, right? So the point that I'm making here is I don't know what the expectations were. And then you add on the injuries. And then you add on that not just do you have a rookie coach, but you have a rookie coach who is trying to fix, yes, I will agree, if not the worst team in the NFL, no worse than like 31. And do so after the mess that David Tepper has put into place the last couple of years. Rick, I don't know what your expectations were coming into this year. There was no world where this team was competitive this year. You are trying to get right for 2025. This is a wash year. And on top of all of that, icing on the cake, the Commanders are a good football team. That's a good football team you played yesterday.
Do you think they'll be better next year? Please tell me yes. I didn't expect the 2 to 3 wins this year, okay?
Yeah, I absolutely think you'll be better next year. I think you got some numbers coming off the cap. You're going to have good cap space this offseason. Canales will now have a year under his belt as the guy in charge. I think he's learning a lot of lessons the hard way right now. And whether it's Bryce Young or somebody else, because I'm going to tell you right now, the trade machine is about to get fired up in the NFL with the trade deadline coming up, Rick. I don't know if Bryce Young is getting traded. There's some thoughts that Miami's going to make a play for him to stick him in place of Tua Tagovailoa because that team stinks without Tua. So why not go from an undersized cerebral quarterback from Alabama to another undersized cerebral quarterback from Alabama? I think Bryce Young is possibly on the block, but even if he's not, I think that with another year, cleaning off the books, letting Dan Morgan cook for a season, letting Dave Canales learn the lessons by getting slapped in the mouth. There's no way this team's not going to be better next year. How much better? I don't know. I'm not ready to say, divisional threat next year, but they will be better. Rick, appreciate that phone call. Your phone call is welcome on the renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone, 844-FAN-FONE, 844-326-3663. Text your overreactions from the weekend to 71307. I got 6 or 7 of them that we will read and react to when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, one more read and we're back. Stay right there for me. that are come in so far. Texas says, Rob, Oregon is number 1. Mariota is back. Quarterback controversy in Washington. Everything is coming up Ducks, baby. There is, let's be real clear, there is no quarterback controversy in Washington, D.C. Jaden Daniels is him. Now, phenomenal showing for Marcus Mariota, but
he was playing the Panthers. I mean,
for sure, and B, it was the first time we have seen Marcus Mariota this season. Anytime that a quarterback checks in and has his first action of the year, he's going to look his best because the other defense ain't seen him yet. And they have to learn from him in real time, on the fly, in game.
I forget. Why do you not like Marcus Mariota?
I don't dislike Marcus Mariota.
I'm pretty
He's
sure
just
you
not
don't
that
like him.
good.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a dislike. I can say that you're not good at something without disliking you. I don't dislike Marcus Mariota. I just simply said when he came in, it dates back to when he was a starter with the Atlanta Falcons, and I came in and I said, they're not going to win with Marcus Mariota. This isn't a hot take. He's just not that good.
And then he did for a while, and you were about to send him a fruit basket, and then he went back to
and then he started being Marcus Mariota again.
And then he got benched and then quit.
Correct. Like I said, right? So it's not anti-Marcus Mariota. It's just pro Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is him. My dude put up 50 yards of rushing in one drive. That's him. He was 2 for 2 before he got knocked out. He's him. That's it. That being said, everything is coming up Ducks right now. Texas said, Rob, how bad is the ACC when Miami is supposed to be good and they are giving up 38 points a game in the ACC? Clemson is the only team with the defense in the conference. Let me be clear. Here's your hot take. Here's your hot take. My hot take is this: Clemson's beating Miami by 21 points if they play today. Honestly, Clemson's beating Miami by 21. Clemson is the best team in the ACC, and it's not close. It's Clemson, step down to Miami, step down to everybody else. That's my hot take right now. Clemson's winning by 3 touchdowns against Miami. They would be favored in Vegas right now by 13.5, and I would absolutely take the cover. Miami, you are correct, has no defense, and Miami has now been bailed out not once, not twice, but thrice by officiating at the end of games. Got it big. Got bailed out against Tech. Got bailed out against Louisville this week. This weekend. Texas said a lot of South Carolina fans are besmirching Lenora Sellers' name. I think the sky is the limit for him. They're besmirching his name. But I'll tell you why I don't besmirch Lenora Sellers, because Lenora Sellers is a young man in his first season as QB1. He's doing what's expected out of a young man who it's his first season as QB1. Now, do I expect him to be better now than he is? Yes. But I put that on the coaches. I put that on development. And I see a lack of it. I see all the athletic prowess. That tutty pass that he had was a dot, son. It was a dart. It was an arrow. But I also have seen in the last 2 weeks a lot of dumb, young, inexperienced mistakes. There comes a point where you can't accept that anymore. There comes a point where you got to say, all right, he's played 5 games now. He's played 6 games now. He's played 7 games now. And he's got to be more situationally aware than he is. Again, that's on coaching. That's on training him up. That's on coaching him up to be more observant of where defenders are, what the clock is, where the situation with the down and distance is, et cetera, et cetera. But he went and he did exactly what was needed of him against Oklahoma. That's all you can say right now. Get at me next week if South Carolina can force a close game against Texas A&M, and let's see how he handles the pressure cooker. Because that's my only concern, is when he's not under pressure, Lenora Sellers is fine. Get at me next week at home when A&M, when the Ags come to town, when the Colt comes a calling, and you got a pressure cooker. We'll see where it goes. Texas said, Rob, you never read my text. SC's defense, 9 sacks, 13 tackles for a loss, 4 turnovers, 2 touchdowns. Oklahoma fired their offensive coordinator yesterday. I will read the text, but here's the thing I want from you, texter. Right, those are the numbers. What's your opinion on it, right? Like, yes, I see the numbers. The numbers are great. Lonzo and I vaunted the South Carolina defense back in the first hour because the defense won them this game. Not the offense. The defense won them this game, and they get all the credit in the world for it. But what's your take on it? Is that defense good enough to beat A&M this weekend, a team that is undefeated in conference, a one-loss football team, a team that is inside the top 15. Is that defense good enough to win the game this weekend? Because this weekend is the weekend that South Carolina proves that they have arrived, or the narrative that Bama and Oklahoma aren't that good comes back to haunt you. Which one is it?
In defense of the texter, sometimes the stats are a take. I mean, everything that the texter said, I mean, I think that's a take. Look how good they are.
I think it's numbers.
Wow.
They're great numbers, and they're numbers worth pointing out.
Should I pull that next time you go into stat mode?
No. You should use numbers to build your take. My opinion is this, and these are the numbers that support that, right? A take is not 2 interceptions. Right, but why? Were they playing a special kind of coverage? Were they rolling to cover the quarterback?
Keep those texts coming, and we'll make sure he reads them.
No, I can go ahead and tell you, if all you're going to do is text me a stat line, I'm not reading that. But if you text me a stat line and you say, Rob, we got to give credit to Clayton because we were all talking smack and his defense performed this way, and here's the reason why, and therefore they're going to do this against A&M, that's a take, and that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Texter says, I'm still on the Panthers and Titans. Trade Bryce for Will Levis and see if the swap helps fix both guys. You're missing something, Texter, respectfully. You're missing something. Those teams suck. Not like a little. Those teams suck a lot. You could trade Bryce Young for Patrick Mahomes today, and that team might win 3 or 4 more games. Right? Like might win 3 or 4 more games. The team's just bad right now. The Titans, the ones that traded Derrick Henry because he wasn't worth the pickup of the contract there, they're bad again. They're bad again enough. The Titans are going to be trade deadline sellers this year because there's no reason not to start the reboot in Tennessee now. Don't do what Carolina did and commit to being mid for a bunch of years. Sell them off and move on.
Yeah, getting rid of Vrabel has really worked out for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, they blame the whole thing on Vrabel. They blame the whole thing on Derrick Henry being 30. Anybody heard from Derrick Henry lately? Oh, yeah, that's right. He's kicking ass in Baltimore right now. Fix it. Trading Bryce Young for Will Levis doesn't fix the damn thing. It just gives you a new, young, and experienced quarterback to be bad behind a bad team. I got to tell you, as much as I am on the bandwagon today of maybe some of y'all need to admit it was not Bryce Young's fault, I'm also not putting him back in the game because he can't get better. It's the same situation as last year. The team stinks. It doesn't matter who you got. You can put Pat Mahomes back there. You ain't winning as it stands right now. Texas said, Rob, the Gamecocks defense is playoff bound. The Gamecock offense is not. I will say this. My biggest critique, y'all got to figure out how to run the football. Got to figure out how to run. If there was ever a game for us to come up in here today and say the Gamecocks finished with 100-plus rushing yards, it was Saturday, right? And again, Rob, why you been a buzzkill? I'm not being a buzzkill. As I tell Lonzo, much to his chagrin, once a week, there is no point in talking about what went right. I mean, you can celebrate what went right. Yay, we did a good thing. And that's great. But there's no point hanging on what went right. Because making what went right be better doesn't make you a better football team. Fixing what went wrong did. And the run game for South Carolina did not go great. That's got to get fixed. I don't disagree. Texas said Washington was one player away from having a good team before picking Jaden Daniels. The problem is Carolina will need more than one good player. I completely concur with that take as well. Absolutely agree with that take. Jaden Daniels was the pick that they needed. See, what Washington did that Carolina did not was they built a team and then they went and found their guy, as opposed to thinking their guy's going to make it a good team. No. You got to build a team that can play to a guy. They built a team. Now they play to Jaden Daniels. He's him. It works. Texas says South Carolina is still in trouble. No offense. In trouble. I'm not going to say in trouble. Need to upgrade the offense? 100,000%, no doubt. Texas said Lenora Sellers played a good game, in my opinion. Yeah, a good game in that he did what he needs to do. And for the record, I'll take that. I'll take a quarterback doing what a quarterback needs to do and feel good about it. Texas said Gamecocks O-line is still booty cheeks. It's got to get better. Again, run game, offensive line. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. You know what else I'm not concerned about? Lonzo nailing this sports flash.
We should be. I want to mess up now on purpose. The new AP Top 25 has dropped with the Oregon Ducks securing the top spot for the first time in 12 years. The Ducks are followed by Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas in the top 5, with Miami, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, and Iowa State rounding out the top 10. Alabama falls to 15. Boise State claims 17. Army and Navy are 23 and 24. And Vanderbilt makes their first appearance in a while at number 25. The World Series is set after the LA Dodgers eliminated the New York Mets last night, winning 10-5 and taking the series 4-2. The Dodgers will represent the National League against the American League. New York Yankees in the World Series, which began Friday night in LA. Yeah, I didn't mess up on purpose. I just messed up. Tune in Friday at 7 p.m. as Burns Rebels head to Spartanburg to take on Vikings. It's Burns versus Spartanburg right here on the Fan, upstate. All right, my words went blurry twice. I'm going to have to wear my glasses. I don't want to. But when reading, I just need to wear my glasses. The defense does look good, and as Rob said earlier in the show, it seemed like that they pulled back the reins a little bit. So if to do that, the quarterback's not going to look as good. The offense is not going to look as good. In the second half, they didn't look the same. But when a defense gives you that much of a lead, then you got to decide how you're going to call the rest of the game. And I am with Rob. I think they shouldn't have called it off. I think they should have put up 70 if they could. But it did look like they backed off. It's more like maybe they decided we'll just try to keep everyone healthy and just try to, maintain this lead and go into the next game. You know, I had forgotten something that made me angry yesterday. Patrick. Tom Brady never called him Mahomes, just called him Patrick every single time. Called everybody else by their last name. It was so annoying. Everything else he did was not bad, but it's like, stop it.
That's because Patrick and Tom are buds. Just a pair of goats hanging out, man. Lonzo's upset that Tom Brady didn't have the respect to call Patrick Mr. Mahomes.
That's not what I said. I just said it was annoying every time he said Patrick. I mean, mix it up a little bit. Patrick Mahomes, give his number out. I'm not his phone number, but the number that he wears, not Patrick. And in the same sentence, Patrick needs to find Kelsey. Why are you not calling him Patrick needs to find Travis? I mean, this is the only game I've heard him do so far. So maybe he does that on every game that he is the color on. We'll see.
They're buds, bud.
Yeah,
They're buds. They're friends. They're amigos.
Mm-hmm.
Compatriots, comrades in arms. Great one.
Uh-huh. Just stop it. It's almost as bad as Josh Allen. Almost.
I want you to know, if you think that there is a single person that's not wearing Chiefs red that thinks that Josh Allen is more venerated than Patrick Mahomes, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, I do.
I'm talking about the saying of, I'm not talking about the players themselves. I'm talking about, I mean, obviously, Tom Brady knows how good Patrick Mahomes is, and he's afraid because he has the potential to erase anything that Tom Brady ever did.
Okay, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
But
come on, dude.
They're buddies.
Come on.
They're boys.
So you're saying there's no chance that Patrick Mahomes erases all that Tom Brady
I'm not
has
saying
done?
there's no chance.
Because he's already doing it as he goes.
I'm not saying there's no chance. I'm saying Pat still needs a lot of rings to catch him.
I got to say, I don't care who it is. Hopefully it is Patrick Mahomes, but I can't wait till Tom Brady becomes the Dan Marino of stats, where you're like, oh, he was really good, but this guy is so much better.
But he's got 7 rings.
Mm-hmm.
There's no but there.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes could win 12 and Tom Brady's ring count would still be asinine.
No, if he wins 12, I'd be really happy with that, by the way.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, if he wins 12, you'd be like, oh, yeah, also in second place was this guy and the other people on the team.
It is 8:03. It is time for the audio blitz, the best audio that we have found over the last day, weekend, month, year, whatever it might be. Let's jump right in. If you have not been following the renaissance of one Baker Mayfield, I don't know what to tell you, because the dude's been great. This evening, Baker's Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take on the Baltimore Ravens. Well, Baker and Ravens tight end Mark Andrews have been friends for a very, very long time. Mark Andrews stood in Baker Mayfield's wedding, except for Baker says he's up in his feels a little bit because during the season, Mark won't talk to him. And Baker laid that out in a press conference leading up to this game. So there's Bake saying Mark's already a weirdo. He won't talk to me in season.
Have you seen The Notebook?
I have never seen The Notebook.
Me
I want you to know, not only have I not seen it, but I go full on on this one. I refuse to see it at this point. I refuse to, and I refuse to see it for one very simple reason. I've been talked to at about it, why I need to watch it. The wife's been begging me to watch it since we started dating, and it's one. There's like very few hills I'm willing to die on, and not watching that movie is one of them. She's told me the plot of the movie, and I'm like, it just sounds awful. A and B, you know what it is? It's kind of like setting these unrealistic expectations of men in relationships, and I won't have it. All right, I won't have it. That's not how relationships work. That's not how. That's like when dudes watch football movies like Invincible, and they're like, I could do it. No, you can't. No, you can't. That's not how life works. No, you can't. Mark Andrews responded to Baker Mayfield, by the way. Facts. It's good to see Bake being Bake. It's good to see Baker being Baker again. It really is. It's fun. Baker is back. And for him to rib his boy before they play a little Monday Night Football tonight is great, especially throwing his ass under the bus for watching The Notebook on repeat.
Which stadium is it in?
I believe this one's down in Tampa tonight.
Hopefully some people picked up on this or like holding up notebooks or something. That would be kind of funny.
Just hold up a cover of the movie every time Mark Andrews is on the field. This one is in Raymond James Stadium, by the way. Hey, I'm a big Dan Patrick guy. Love Dan Patrick. I think he's one of the all-time GOATs of this industry.
By the way, me too. I love Dan Patrick.
Good. Then you'll completely appreciate the Dan Patrick Conspiracy Theory Hour, which he put on this week. All right, hold up. Can I just start by saying I love that Dan Patrick says Tay-Tay?
Yeah, and that part bothers me.
I love it.
Because I think at some point you reach a certain age, you stop doing that. I mean, I realize he's known for that. That's one of the things back at Sports Center back in the day, one of the guys who did a bunch of that stuff. But I mean, at some point, leave that nickname to your grandkids.
Wait. Why do you get to hang up anime pictures, but Dan's not okay saying Tay-Tay?
Do you see any of those behind me right now? I would put them up.
Dan Patrick going full tinfoil cap, saying the NFL manipulated the schedule to make sure that Buffalo and Kansas City played in Buffalo when she was in Toronto so that the Swifties could engage.
Come on. Everyone knows that Dan Patrick is part of the secret society of NFL writers, so he already knew because he's seen the NFL script. He's being clever with it, but of course he knew.
Of course he knew. Also, I don't believe for a second that's what happened. However, I am down for manufacturing a bad guy when you want one. I'm here for it. Hey, you know who's back and weirder than ever before? Chucky. Yeah, I know it's long. I have to hear all of it. Dude.
All right, the Who thing is killing me.
Somebody take Gruden's computer away from him. All right, get him off TikTok. Grandpa, it's time for bed. All right? It's time to go to bed, Grandpa. It's forced. It's cringe, as the kids say. It's awkward, and I don't like it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm the only person in America, but it's forced. It's cringy, and I don't like it. Here's the thing. So there's two camera angles. There's one that's like looking at the camera, but then whenever he hits that moment where like he runs out of things to say, but he has to wait for the whoo at the end. He does this, and I'm going to reenact this on the stream. Zoe, if you'll watch the monitor, this is the angle that Gruden goes with. He goes, whew. It's very awkward, and I hate it. It's awkward, and I hate it. Chucky, stop, dude. Just please stop. I'm begging you. Let's see. What else? I have a new soundbite. Maryland down 21-7, 10 seconds left, decide they are not going to clock the ball against USC and give themselves another play. Instead, they're going to hurry up out of the shotgun, and, well, things go poorly for the Terps. The Terps snap over the quarterback's head, and what coulda, shoulda, would have been a potential point-scoring opportunity down 2 scores turns into, as you heard, disaster for the Turtles. I only play that so that in the future when I use that clip, you know where it came from. Hey, let's go to this one. How about let's go with Kirby Smart here. Kirby Smart, after Georgia finished off Texas, was doing his on-the-field post-game interview with ESPN, and well, he just said it. Our intent was to hate Kirby, and I think fairly and appropriately so. Kirby said nobody on your network gave us a chance, which they didn't, by the way, which they didn't. I was watching Game Day. Across the board, they picked Texas to win that game. And why not? Texas was like the number one offense, the number one defense, despite the fact that they were playing the 59th ranked schedule in America. All the numbers said Texas wins. And then there was some controversy, including a pass interference call that Texas got a pick, and it got overturned after a bunch of students threw stuff down on the field. It was a whole thing. Georgia lost not one, but 2 players to targeting. And even I, Liberob, the woke warrior and defender of player safety, even I went, that's not targeting. That's a clean football hit. That's a good. Even I use the phrase I hate so much, which is, is this even football anymore? Is this it? And it was bad. And it absolutely did feel like these calls were weighted against the Dogs. Kirby straight up said they tried to rob us with calls down the stretch. Georgia had Texas in a big hole. Texas kind of started to fight back a little bit. And Kirby said they tried to rob us. But that wasn't all he said. He also jumped onto it in the press conference after the game. It kind of is, though, Curb. It kind of is criticizing the officials. And that's okay. That's okay. I think they deserve to be criticized, to be honest with you. The referees are not above criticism. Nobody is. I'm going to say bottles being thrown on the field, not quite as dangerous as, and I'm making up a hypothetical here. I don't know, an entire football team consistently and repeatedly driving 100 miles an hour down back highways. It's not quite as dead, but I get it. I get what your point is here. Yes. Curb's not wrong, but ain't right either. You know what I mean? It's kind of somewhere in the mix. Hey, remember when I said everybody on ESPN? This was hours before Texas and Georgia played. Hey, Desmond Howard, how's it going for you? Yeah, how'd that go, Des?
Yeah, I saw that, and it's Reggie Hammond, not Hammonds. And how many people actually get that reference?
I didn't. I'm not going to lie to you. Is it from, I'm assuming it's from
It's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. It's, what's the name of that movie?
48 Hours.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yep. Listen, I'm not gonna beat up on Dez. All right. Dez has taken enough heat on social media. My man made a game prediction. The game prediction went wrong. You know who else that happens to? Friggin' everybody with a microphone. All right. That's why we do this. Of course he got it wrong.
It happened to you a bunch this weekend. I don't even know how you could show up.
Let's not say a bunch. Let's not say a bunch. Rob did okay on the books this weekend. All right. Let's not say a bunch. Let's say a little. Let's say it went a little sideways. Not a bunch, just a little sideways for me. And that's okay. That's okay. That's why it's called sports gambling and not sports future telling. All right? It was okay. Mike Jones said, call out bad officials. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sure most South Carolina fans do. All right, last one, and then we got to run to a break. This one, unsports related. I'm playing it for the great one. The city of Miami was having a city council meeting about the betterment of citizens in the city of Miami in South Florida. And they opened it up for public comment. You can come up and you can say, hey, here's some ways, here's some ideas I had about making life better for the people of Miami and for America. And I just want you to know that these two guys who gave a speech on how to make America better, these two guys now have my vote for president. For president. Sorry, Kamala and Tim. Sorry, Don and JD. You can all take a back seat to Chad because Chad's got it figured out. Chad nailed it. Being on a boat cures depression. And the only thing better than being on a boat and hitting a quick gainer off the tuna tower to fully peak your froth is hot chicks and hot dudes.
Okay, the one thing that I didn't get is the tuna tower.
Tuna tower. On top of it, there will be this big, it's usually made out of metal, but it's a big tower that goes up in the middle of the boat, and they put a wheel and another throttle up there. And the reason they do that is to get you way up over the water so that you can look down. Because when you're either cobia or tuna fishing, the way you fish for them, because they're free swimmers on top, right? They don't gather up. They're just swimming around the ocean. You go up on top of the tuna tower, bruh, And as you power through the waves, dude, you look down into the water because you have to physically see the tuna or the cobia or whatever you're fishing. And then you got to drive the boat out ahead of where they're going and drop your line in the water ahead of them and have them swim to the line. Because you can't just throw at a tuna where like a bass, right? Like a bass, the bass is over there by that tree. So you just pop the line over there and you hang out. The bass comes to it. For a tuna, you got to see them, get out front of them, drop the line ahead and troll out front of them, let them catch up to the bait to catch them. So a tuna tower is just a big tower that goes on top of the boat. But if you're a broing out on a yacht, dude, the tuna tower, climb up to the top, hit that sweet gainer off the top, dude. Texas said, hold on, being on someone else's boat with hot chicks is 100 because boats are expensive. No, I don't disagree. Which is why whoever shows up and says a boat for every American gets my vote. Boats for Votes 2024. That'll pique my froth, dude. Chad and his boy get my vote for president. That's a phenomenal campaign. All right, let's take it right back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
World.
All right, guys, one more read. Coming right back. Stay right there for me. The Rob Brown Show continues. It's the Fan Upstate. The renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone is available for you at 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. The text line is open for you at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. You can tweet me at The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet Lonzo at Lonzo on Word. You can tweet everybody at the station at The Fan Upstate. And, of course, don't forget, the Ray Memorial Hotline is open for you as well. The Ray Memorial Hotline, which you can utilize by going to the Odyssey app, Audacy, the Odyssey app. Go to the Fan Upstate page. On that page, you'll see a little circular button with a microphone on the inside of it. You click that microphone, and you can leave a 60-second voice note that comes directly to the great one and I. The Ray Memorial Hotline available at and only at the Odyssey app, Audacy. Go to the Fan Upstate page, click on the mic button, and drop that 60-second voice note on us, and we'll read them right here, we'll play them right here on the air from the Ray Memorial Hotline. All right. Real quick, John Blau from the Post and Courier coming up in the next segment to talk Clemson football with us. We're slated to have Marty Smith on the show from ESPN coming up at 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, Marty is on assignment and had a bit of an issue with his travel plans this morning. I have already spoken to Marty's manager, and he will be rescheduling us hopefully later this week, though it may be next. I will let you know when we get that one booked up, but hopefully sooner rather than later. ESPN's Marty Smith will join us here on the radio broadcast. Was actually slated to join us on the stream, and we're hoping we can still make that happen at some point down the line. We are looking at your AP Top 25 from Week 8 in college football. Oregon with a 35-0 win over Purdue. The Boilermakers dropped to 1-6. This, to me, for a team that is now number 1 in the country, though Oregon has hit the part of the schedule where it's pretty much for the rest of the ride, just do what you're supposed to do. They have one ranked game remaining. It's against Illinois coming up this weekend. Then they're on the road at Michigan, back home for Maryland, on the road at Wisconsin, back home for former Pac-12 rival Washington to wrap up the season. Of the teams that are inside of the top 5, I think Oregon's the one that I'm most confident is certainly making it to their conference championship.
Don't say Illinois is a gimme, because Illinois 6-1, 3-1 in the conference. They're not.
No, not a gimme at all.
Yeah, they're
not a gimme at all. They did lose to Penn State 21-7. They knocked off Nebraska earlier in the year when Nebraska was ranked. And they beat Michigan again. A lot of people are going to beat Michigan this year. They're just not that good.
Hope so.
Well, it's one of those things that everybody else catches the easiest version of Michigan. You guys get Michigan, and it's your rivalry game, so who the hell knows, right? I mean, I think Ohio State's probably a 14.5-point favorite minimum in this game. I'm not saying Illinois is a gimme. Illinois is a gimme.
I don't think you need to worry about the Illinois people coming to beat you up. I could be wrong.
You never know.
Although Chicago is in Illinois.
Chicago makes a lot of Illinois. Let's see here. 38-35, BYU over Oklahoma State. The Storm and Mormons are 7-0, and they've got a win over SMU, which is proving week by week to look like a better and better win. SMU was unranked when BYU knocked them off. They are now in the top 25 despite the L. They've got wins over Arizona and number 13, Kansas. By the way, a big win over Kansas State. That's by the way, Kansas State's only loss on the year is BYU. They turned around and they knocked off Oklahoma State when Oklahoma State was a top 20 team. Kansas State got Colorado, and they destroyed West Virginia this weekend. That's a pretty good win for the Storm and Mormons. This is a team that is coming out of a Big 12 where it is right now they and Iowa State. We came into the year saying the Big 12's probably got 7 teams that can legitimately win this conference. There are only 2 that remain undefeated, BYU and Iowa State. Kansas State, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, and Colorado all have 3-1 records in conference. Utah's 1-3, Arizona's 1-3, Kansas, maybe the most disappointing team in that conference, is 1-3 in conference. That's a pretty good BYU team. Georgia knocks off Texas. We've talked about that one. Miami escapes with a 52-45 win, once again aided by some questionable refereeing down the stretch. Tennessee, I told you, just because they lost to Arkansas, it's a bad loss, but don't sleep on the Volunteers to make a resurgence in the conference. And now they get Bama this weekend. They're a one-loss team in the SEC, right on the outside looking in. So we're going to talk more about the AP Top 25. John Blau of the Post and Courier joins us next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, guys, one more read, and we're coming back with John Blau to talk Clemson ball. Don't go anywhere. Dude, how about Scotty and answering the questions?
Yeah. So I was really
fantastic.
bored. I was just staring at the wall.
It's like, what else was I going to do? It's nothing to do. It's incredible. Every Monday at 8:40, we welcome into the show our very next guest. He is an illustrious sports writer who covers the Clemson Tigers for the Post and Courier. He is John Blau, joining us here on the show. John, what's up, big fella? How we doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing very well. Doing very well. Thank you very much, man. Let's dive right into this. A 48-31 win over former Clemson Tiger offensive coordinator turned Virginia Cavalier head coach Tony Elliott and his squad. And let's start what we learned pregame, John, and that this wide receiver room was a little banged up, was missing some dudes going into this game. And so the question mark was going to be, what can Cade Klubnik do without a couple of his top targets available to him? And the answer was 23 of 35 for 308 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. What adaptations did the offense have to make? Did Cade have to make, if any, to compensate for having a couple of guys out as pass catchers?
Yeah, I don't know if they really had to change that much. I mean, I think that's been the thing that's been very impressive about this wide receiver unit is that they have so much depth. And I mean, you look at the stats, a guy like Troy Stellato had 7 catches for 74 yards. Antonio Williams, I mean, he threw another pass, even though it was ugly as all get out. It got there at the Troy Stellato, ended up running for a touchdown. They just have a lot of different guys. TJ Moore came in at the very end of the game, had a 34-yard touchdown. So they had the depth to withstand these injuries when in seasons past, they really have not been able to. And Cade talked after the game. This was not his best game. He missed a few throws. I mean, I saw at least a couple that he airballed a little over a guy. And, the Olsen Pat Henry touchdown was pretty low. He had to really get bend down for it, go the distance. But his guys really helped him out, he felt like. So he didn't have to have his best game. Clemson didn't have to have all their best guys, but they were still able to put up points, which is impressive in itself.
We talked, and we have been talking increasingly week by week, John Blau, about Cade Klubnik and the quarterback he's developed into, potentially working on a trip up to New York City at the end of the year. I said on Saturday morning on X leading up to this game that if Cade was going to get a Heisman invitation and put himself into that discussion of the top-notch college football quarterbacks, the argument was going to be made this weekend because of that scenario. And Cade Klubnik did everything that was asked of him and a little bit more with the depleted pass-catching squad. Talk to me about what you saw out of that young man this weekend, because I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the interception, the worst play he had, where he didn't see a linebacker underneath, threw it straight to him. It reminded you of 2023, and you're like, that's not the type of mistake he's made this year. And so it was kind of stark in contrast. It kind of reminded you of, like, this is the stuff he used to do. We haven't seen this at all. There he goes, throwing that one to another guy who's not on his team. But yeah, the rest of the time, again, there were a couple balls that he missed that were pretty obviously there. But he settled down after that interception. He didn't get flustered. He continued to make, for the most part, the right decisions and pretty accurate passes. Obviously, if we talk about the season in totality, just the reduction of those mistakes, the fact that he's running more, kind of taking those opportunities to pick up chunks and first downs, and he's just finding the right guys. And he has faith in his offensive line. He's not, running around like crazy, trying to do too much. He sits back there, he finds his guy, and he makes the right play. So I mean, that's just more of what we saw from Cade Klubnik. Obviously, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's a nice line. And, as long as they keep doing this, there's no reason why he won't be in that discussion at the end of the year for Player of the Year awards and the illustrious Heisman.
Virginia puts 31 up. 21 of those, John Blau, come in the fourth quarter. Was this more of a Clemson had the game in hand, pulled some starters, let some young guys get some XP. Was this a late game letdown? How do you attribute 3 tutties in the fourth quarter to Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, we saw this against NC State. It was almost the same exact thing. And just in terms of they pulled their starters, they were trying to get those young guys on defensive experience. And Virginia took advantage. I know Dabo talked about, he tried to call the dogs off himself. I think they got up 38-10 or 41-17. He's like, hey, trying to pull my guys. And then Tony Elliott wouldn't let him call the dogs off. He kept his guys in and kept scoring touchdowns. And Dabo had to put his first team offense back in to go score again to kind of push it back. But I mean, the first team defense has been pretty strong. I don't think you come out of this game thinking Clemson's got a problem on defense. They have some young guys that are getting experience in these games that aren't performing up to the standard, quote unquote. TJ Parker talked about it after the game. That's going to be something they really focus on with the young guys. Like, hey, just because the first team defense comes out, just because we're up by 20, 30 points, you can't let down. You got to hold up to the standard. And I'm sure that's one of those focuses they're going to have during the bye week, is just kind of instilling a sense of urgency in some of those backups to let them know that, hey, you're going to get playing time, but you got to be ready when it comes.
Yeah, I mean, depth, obviously, the deeper into the season you get, and certainly with the expanded playoffs, and Clemson now on an inside track to end up in those playoffs, whether it's via an ACC championship or an at-large, having those guys that you can trust to roll in becomes more and more important. Was there anybody, John Blau, that stepped in late in the game, any backups? And again, I know had guys kind of rotating in and out, but has there been anybody that stood out to you that's maybe a secondary player, a backup player, that is making noise, that's getting noticed by this staff?
Yeah, I mean, Sammy Brown's been a guy that every single time he gets into the game late, he's definitely still learning the defense, but when he flashes pretty brightly. I mean, he had another sack or tackle for loss. I think he has 6.5 on the season already through 6 games. That's a freshman linebacker. He's a guy that you could tell is going to be very good when his career's done. I mean, he's not ready to play every single down. He's still kind of learning the defense and kind of ingraining those instincts in terms of where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to do. But he's flashed at times. And Ashton Hampton, a cornerback, freshman, he played a whole ton of snaps at Florida State at the end of the game and actually held his own. And he got into the game as well against Virginia, and obviously looks good for the most part. There was some busting coverage I would need to go back and see and make sure that Ashton Hampton was not one of them. But he's had some good moments. So I think they got some young guys that are definitely coming along. It's just as a unit, they don't have enough of those guys kind of where they need to be to kind of stave off some of those garbage time touchdowns, which have been a problem.
We kind of hit a point in the schedule that I really think, until you get to that South Carolina game, John Blau, might be the most dangerous 2-game set that Clemson has to play. They catch a Louisville team that is very upset after that loss to Miami. They felt like they were kind of jobbed out of an opportunity late in the game. And then you got to go to Blacksburg, Virginia, and Tech maybe not as good as we had hoped they would be this year, but anybody who's got to go play a game against Virginia Tech on the road, and considering that game will likely end up being a night game, Louisville, Virginia Tech back-to-back might be is the most dangerous 2-game set I think that is remaining for Clemson. So what's the emphasis? What's the focus for this team getting set up for the Cardinal with a week on the bye to get prepared?
Yeah, it's just I think they talk about it playing open. So that obviously the opponent is the open week. It's Clemson versus Clemson. So yeah, they just have to do what they can, to get more healthy. I mean, they hope that Tyler Brown and Brian Westco Jr. kind of, figure out their ankle issues and get better and get healthier so they can play against Louisville. So that a little bit back to their receiver core there. And then, just cleaning up some issues. Again, talking about the younger guys kind of playing up to their standard, but also I think there's some discipline issues that Dabo Sweeney didn't quite like in that game. Too many penalties. It's just a week to clean up execution and get ready for a pretty, like you said, a pretty interesting slate. I mean, I don't think anybody looks at Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, thinks it's the hardest 3-game, slate that anybody's going to face across the country, but it is tricky. I mean, Louisville's a team that just put up a ton of points on Miami. Virginia Tech, Blacksburg, that's a tough environment, and Pittsburgh's got a pretty good quarterback. So there's definitely 3 games right there that you got to be ready to play. You got to be healthy. You got to execute, or you stumble. And if you stumble, it's going to be a kind of worrisome proposition about whether you actually make it into the playoffs just because of the strength of the ACC.
Of those games that you mentioned, and you can add the Citadel and you can add South Carolina, who got a very impressive win on the road out in Norman at Oklahoma this weekend. If I asked you right now if there's a roadblock between Clemson and the playoffs that's got you most concerned, is it one of those 5 games? Is it a potential loss in an ACC championship game against likely Miami? What would you say the biggest roadblock is set up between here and the end of the season for Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to overlook any of them and then they end up losing it. I look silly, but I think that South Carolina game, just because of the way they're playing, obviously the way they played in Tuscaloosa to beat down Oklahoma the way they did. I think South Carolina's got a pretty good defense. They've been forcing a lot of turnovers. Kind of really got my eye on that game at the end of the year. Obviously, rivalry game. It's in Memorial Stadium. It's in Death Valley, so they had that advantage. But the last time, South Carolina was in Death Valley, they won the game. So I think that actually is kind of looking like it could be a really interesting rivalry game at the end of the year. And so that will be, one to watch. But I wouldn't say overlook Louisville, Virginia Tech, or Pitt either, just because Virginia Tech and Pitt are on the road, and Louisville's a team that can put up a lot of points. So all of them are dangerous, but that South Carolina game is really interesting to me.
John Blau covers the Clemson Tigers for the Post and Courier, joins us every single Monday at 8:40 to get us all caught up with Tiger Athletics. Clemson on the bye this weekend before they return back home on the 2nd of November to take on Louisville. John Blau, we appreciate your time as always. We'll talk some Cardinal Clemson football with you next Monday, big dog. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rob.
You got it. John Blau from the Post and Courier every Monday at 8:40 to talk Clemson ball. Well, Lonzo and I come back. We flip it over to the National Football League. We're going to play a little game. We're going to give some labels out to the 32 teams in the National Football League as we have crossed the quarter of the season mark. That all comes after Lonzo earns his superlative of best reader of the Sports Flash.
On this station, the World Series is set after the LA Dodgers eliminated the New York Mets last night, winning 10-5 and taking the series 4-2. The Dodgers will represent the National League against the American League's New York Yankees in the World Series, which begins Friday night in LA. The new AP Top 25 poll is dropped, with the Oregon Ducks securing the top spot for the first time in 12 years. The Ducks are followed by Georgia, Penn State, the Ohio State, and Texas in the top 5, with Miami, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, and Iowa State rounding out the top 10. Alabama falls to 15. Boise State claims 17. Army and Navy are 23 and 24. And Vanderbilt makes their first appearance since 2013 at number 25. Hey, make sure you tune in this Friday at 7 as the Burns Rebels head to Spartanburg to take on the Vikings. It's Burns versus Spartanburg right here on your home for Burns Rebels football. The Fan, Upstate. Did we go early?
A little bit.
Okay.
How's that feel?
The fact that I'm gonna have to fill with a couple things. It's Friday.
The end of your first year? Well, I do now. Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you burn at the end of your first year? Yeah, you just said that. Did you say I just said that? Yeah, I'm cutting you off. Did you say you're cutting me off?
You earn, we match. Unlimited cashback match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Halloween is coming alive at Target. Jackie and Gordy, the Jack-O-Lanterns here with a front porch view of
The Jack-O-Lantern.
Sweet. Don't forget, Jack-O-Lantern costumes for $15. Can't wait to see it. Oh, and decorating the pumpkin carpet kits for $5. That's how I got my kid.
The problem earlier was a transfer problem. And the fact that I had told people to put end dates on stuff from Friday, they did not. So the first one that I put in transferred fine. The other ones did not. Adobe Audition upgraded Friday. And so metadata and everything's not transferring. So it's just Chris was at the tower, so he couldn't fix it. A tower.
As much as I think you've got your one in Deontay, you got one of the future right now. Am I getting too aggressive here? I do love that. I'm a lad guy. Are you comparing him to Alpina and what? No, I'm not. Rashad, why would you do this to me? I thought we were friends, dog. I thought we were friends. He's a built slot receiver, all right?
Looks like you get a little close to home. Look at it defending himself.
Let me tell you what I did for years. All right, for years I did this.
Don't risk it.
I said, touchdown Tommy Brady. I like watching him play because he can turn any short white guy into a Pro Bowl. I'm not above the white guy wide receiver jokes, Rashad. I'm good with it, all right? He's a slot wide receiver. Do you disagree?
I do disagree. I think he's an outside guy. He played 76% of his plays at Georgia outside. He is an outside guy that can go inside, which is what the Panthers are looking for.
Don't hit snooze. The Rob Brown Show, now morning 6 to 10 on The Fan.
The Fan Upstate.
Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
So the question is, who is going to get more mascots right? So what you're going to do is you're going to ask me you're going to give me the city name, and I'm going to try to guess the mascot of the team. All right, hit me with city number one. When did Spartanburg get a WNBA? Everybody, are they the Spartanburgers? Okay. All right. I've got 6. I'm going to start at the top.
It's a bad edit.
New York.
That would be your reigning, defending, undisputed New York Liberty.
New York mystery. Liberty.
You're the only one on the station that would have got that right.
It's okay. I take comfort in being a sports fan.
Or being different. That's fine. They had no EOM on the end of that. And they also didn't cut it tight enough. That's why I don't listen to the radio. Salvation Army, first break.
Salvation Army, first break.
Anthony Edwards claims he'll switch to the NFL if he wins an NBA title soon.
It is the final hour of the Rob Brown show right here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Group and Lonzo with you, rolling through a Monday morning. Happy to have you all along for the ride. The renewal by Anderson to the Carolinas fan phone is open, 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. The text line, 71 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. You can also use the Ray Memorial Hotline. Go to the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Go to the Fan Upstate page. Click on the little round microphone button, and you can drop a 60-second voice note that comes directly to the great one and I. We would love to have you on the Ray Memorial Hotline. Let us play a little game. Great one. There's a trend going on in social media that I am going to openly and unashamedly steal for this segment. The trend is a blind rank. So, for instance, you would say, rank your top 10 fast food restaurants, right? And then you would start, it would give you a fast food restaurant, and you just got to put it on the list without knowing what's left or what's coming. So you got to put it somewhere on the list. So like the first one might be Popeyes. And I would say, oh, that's number 1. No questions asked. Lonzo might say it's number 6. It's a mid-tier chicken establishment.
You said top 10, right?
Yeah, but for this.
So what if it's not? So you have to rank them?
You have to rank
even
them.
though they wouldn't be in yours?
Correct.
Okay.
It just gives you, and you just rank top 10 without knowing what's coming up. Well, we do know the 32 teams in the National Football League, but we are going to rank them in 4 categories on a blind draw. Great, good, bad, or really bad. All right? So we're going to spin the wheel of NFL teams, and Lonzo and I are going to go back and forth. We're going to say, okay, I think that team is great. I think that team is good. I think that team is bad, or I think that team is really bad, and put them either in the top 25, mid 75, or bottom, or mid 50, or bottom 25% of the league based on if we think they're great, good, bad, or really bad. And as we go through, we'll obviously have to decide if a team deserves to go in one category more than the other, with X teams still remaining to be ranked. We spin the wheel of NFL teams, Lonzo. I will allow you to go first.
Oh, that's you actually spin the wheel.
It's an actual wheel.
I don't know that. Okay. All right. I still am going to need help because
I'm
not. I think I understand the game, but I'm not.
All you got to do is tell me, is a team great, good, bad, or really bad? And once the category's filled with 8 teams, no other teams can be ranked in that category, right? Let's start with, Lonzo, the first team to be on our NFL wheel, the Detroit Lions. Detroit, great, good, bad, or really bad?
So you only get to pick great once?
No, we have 8 slots in the great category. If we fill up all 8, then let's say we fill up all 8 and Kansas City comes up, the next team can't be labeled as anything but good.
Okay, I'm going to go with great.
I think that is the correct answer. We are going to put the Lions in the great category and eliminate them from the NFL wheel. We spin wheel for the second time. My first team is going to be the Green Bay Packers. The Packers with a good win this weekend. I don't feel that they are great yet, though. I feel like that's a good team. I'm going to stick them in the good category, Lonzo. So we have a good team and a great team. We spin the wheel once again. Your next team to rank is the L.A. Rams.
Okay, it was great, good. What were the other?
Bad or really bad?
Bad.
I don't think that's a they're 2-4 with the win over the Raiders. The Raiders are bad. I'm going to put them there because that's what you said. You're putting them in bad or really bad?
Bad.
Bad, right? I'm good with bad. I'm also going to say, speaking of teams that are absolutely banged up, dinged up, nicked up, and beat to hell, this team is without a doubt one of them. This team is hurting right now. We go back to the wheel of NFL teams. We spin it. It's actually a wheel. I'm actually spinning a wheel over here. The Tennessee Titans go to me. Titans going to be the first team that goes into the really bad category. This team is flat out atrocious.
How do you lose this game?
Yeah, Will Levis is not him. They are 1-5. They lose to the Bills 34-10. Well, it's not so much lose. The first half, the league's going to be easy because all the slots have all 8 slots available. As we get to the end, we're going to start running out of spots in a category.
On your will, once it's used, it's
eliminated.
Okay,
yes, that is correct.
Okay, I'm just all right.
All right, we have spun the Titans. Let's move on. And now we have the Cincinnati Bengals, Lonzo.
Really bad.
Really bad. Okay. The Bengals going in the really, I still think that team's a playoff team. I think that team's going to fight into a wild card team. We'll find out. The Bengals knocked off the wheel. We spin once again. My next pick, and I am going to be labeling the Seattle Seahawks. This is probably the first one that I'm going to have a bit of a crisis because they're not great. All right, we know they're not great. They are 4-3. They did go on the road and smoke the Falcons this weekend. At 4-3, I'm going to say that's a good team, Lonzo. They're certainly not really good, but I think that win over Atlanta, it is the first after a 3-game losing streak that included one to the Giants. I'm tempted to put them in bad, but I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to go in the good category. We resume for Lonzo's next pick here as we spin the wheel of destiny, the Dallas Cowboys, Lonzo.
Wow, there's no category for meh. So
that's the game.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go bad.
Bad. I probably would have stuck them into the really bad category, but hey, that's how the game works. Let's spin one more time again as we run through the 32 teams. Kansas City Chiefs, I'm going to put them in the great category. Listen, on one hand, they aren't blowing anybody out of the water. They're not dominating anybody, but they're the only undefeated team in the National Football League. Something to be said for that.
It's called business as usual.
Yeah. I mean, Lonzo's been saying that since like midweek last year. Lonzo, I hate that you got this team because we're about to fight the Chicago Bears.
I'm going to go with good.
Okay. You know what? We're not going to fight. They're 4-2. They're getting better week by week, and I feel good saying that. They smoked the Jags last time out.
I also know process of elimination. I'm trying to save some really
trying
bad.
to save some spots?
Yeah,
Yep.
I am.
Yep.
So
that's the way the game works.
I realize I get 16, you get 16. Now I understand it. So
that is correct. All right, here we go. Spinning once again. We've got the Chicago Bears in the good category. We come to the New York Football Giants. I am going to put you know what? They're really bad. I'm going to eat up a spot for the G-Men as being really bad. You know why I'm going to do that?
Now your really bads are 2. You got 2 really bad.
I sure do. I've got the Titans and the Giants. You have only put the Bengals in that spot so far. The Giants eliminated from the NFL wheel. We spin on and arrive at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Great.
Oh, Tampa Bay.
So that's 3 greats for me?
That is 3 greats. The Lions, the Chiefs, and the Bucs.
No, but it's my great. Are you separating the?
No, this is a show ranking.
Okay.
This is a show ranking.
So then there's going to be, okay, the math doesn't work for me, but
that math does math. You get 16 to drop into 16 slots. I get the other ones. The New Orleans Saints, I'm going to eat up another really bad spot. The Saints are really bad. In fact, I'm going to say 31 slots, and then the Saints get their own category. We suck. Is the last category. Saints go in the really bad spot. Lonzo, we are almost halfway through, and we have already eaten up half of our really bad spots. Saints eliminated from the wheel. We spin to see who Lonzo gets next. The next team is the Washington Commanders. Bum 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 bum.
I still think you are. Well, anyway. All right. I'm going to go with good for Washington. Commanders.
Okay. I'm good with that. They, of course, blow the Cats out of the water this weekend and do it without Jaden Daniels on the squad. I'm good with good for the Commanders.
So do we stop at 16?
No, we're doing all 32 teams.
Okay. But so then if there's only 16 slots, then
there's 32 squares. There's 8 under all 4 categories.
Right. That's what I said. I said 4 apiece, and you said no.
No, there's 4 total categories, each with 8 slots
right.
for 32
so each
slots.
of us get 4 for each thing.
No, we're filling them in as we go. So, like, if
you're not getting me, it's okay.
No,
it's your turn.
Listen. If I say that there's 7 good teams, you get 1 good team slot. We're just filling them in. So once we get to, because we've got 4 good slots filled, that means between us, we get to label 4 more teams good.
All right. So anyway, all right.
This pick's yours. I suspect it's not going to be that much of a discussion point. The Carolina Panthers.
Really bad.
Yep. I feel like this one's going to save us just a minute at a time. We eliminate them from the wheel, and we spin on. The next team up on the list is the Atlanta Falcons.
That's you?
Yeah. And I'm debating this one because on one hand, the Falcons are in charge of the division. On the other hand, they're bad. They're not in charge of a good division. They are 4-3, and they did just lose to the Seahawks.
How are they in charge of the division? They're better than than Tampa?
Aren't they tied? Or did Tampa? Well, we find out tonight, right? If Tampa wins tonight, they're back in sole possession of first. I'm gonna see. We got 4 good slots eaten up, and I know there's some real good teams left on the wheel. I'm gonna put it. After that loss this weekend. If they had won or been competitive, I'd put them as good. I'm gonna mark the Falcons as a bad team, not a worse team, not an awful team. Right now, I'd favor them after the Packers, Seahawks, Bears, and Commanders, to tell you the truth. All right, Lonzo's pick up next. He gets the label the Cleveland Browns.
Really bad.
Yeah. I don't think there's a question mark there. Deshaun Watson done for the year with an ACL injury. And there's some controversy about that. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a minute from now. Lonzo, we only have one really bad slot left on the board. We spin the wheel once again, and it lands on the Minnesota Vikings. They take their first loss this weekend in a closely contested game with the Detroit Lions.
I think you still got to go with great.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. It's one loss, and it is against another team that we have in the great category. We eliminate them from the wheel and spin ever on, Lonzo, the New England Patriots.
No, that's
okay,
you.
Rob, the New England Patriots are going to go. That is it. We have locked out the really bad category, Lonzo, and here's the problem. We've locked out the really bad category with the Raiders on the board. We have locked out the really bad category with a few other teams on the board. Let's spin once again. And we land this time on the New York Jets. They take the L last night in an ugly one, gets smoked by Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback Russell Wilson.
I'm going to go with bad.
Yeah, I don't think you can do anything but bad there. Will they get better? Everybody, Devontae shows up. They're still bad. Guys, Devontae been on the team 3 days.
So a bad team's going to end up in the good category?
Potentially. We still have 3 more slots for bad, 3 more slots for good, and 3 more slots for great. The Jets eliminated. We spin the NFL wheel, and we land on the San Francisco 49ers. Great or good? You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say the 49ers are good. I think they could be great when McCaffrey comes back. I think they've been underplaying the issue. But see, I think the problem is I think Ayuk might be done for a minute. And if that's the case, all those weapons that made Brock Purdy look like a star go away, and Brock Purdy's about to start looking like not a star. You know what? I'm going to go one step further, Lonzo. I'm going to go ahead and preemptively downgrade No, I'll leave him as good. I was going to move them to bad, but there's some bad teams left on the wheel. I'll put the 49ers as good. We spin the wheel, and Lonzo gets the Raiders.
Bad.
Yeah, I don't think he can go anywhere else. Frankly, is there anybody you would have removed from the really bad? Titans, Bengals, Giants, Saints, Panthers, Browns, and Patriots. Anybody you would remove from really bad?
All right, if I had to remove from really bad, it would be Bengals. But
I think that's fair.
And I'm the one who put them there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We spin the wheel one more time as we have got just a handful of selections left, and we end up, Lonzo, with the Baltimore Ravens.
That's you.
No, I just did the 49ers, didn't I? Oh, you got the Raiders, didn't you? Mm-hmm. I'm putting the Ravens in the great category. They've been in some close ones, just like the Chiefs. Derrick Henry is exactly what I told you Derrick Henry was going to be in this one. So I'll put the Ravens on top in the great category. Lonzo, your pick is the LA/San Diego Superchargers.
We got bad slots left, right?
You got 2 great, 2 good, 2 bad.
Let's go with bad.
Bad. Okay. Chargers getting better week by week, but I'm fine with putting them in the bad category. We continue on with just 5 teams remaining. The Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins are not good. Yeah, they're not good. I'm going to go in the bad category. I didn't think they'd be in the bad category. I really thought with the weapons that they've had that the loss of Tua Tagovailoa wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Turns out, maybe it was.
Do we have any bad slots left?
We have no bad and no really bad. Then. We do have a major problem because we have not ranked the Indianapolis Colts.
Well, then I guess I have to go good.
I guess you kind of do. Not
this thing is
ideal.
bogus.
See, this is why this game stinks, right? Because now we're in a spot where we have
the Broncos haven't been picked either.
Neither have the Jags.
Wow.
Neither have the Cardinals.
Wow.
And we have, okay, it's not ideal. All right, blind rank. We have already eliminated the Packers. I don't know why they're still on there. I also forgot to push eliminate on a couple of teams. The Bills. Great, right? They're great. They're great. They're great.
Well, you're looking at me. It's your choice.
They're great.
But yeah.
They're great. I'm going with great.
Especially if you compare them to the teams that are left, for sure.
All right, who do we have left? We have the Denver Broncos, and we have the Broncos. We have the Jaguars. Did I make enough spots? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no, I lied. We had one of each spot. I screwed the pooch. I didn't draw enough squares. Point is, this game sucks, and we're going to do it every week from now on.
No.
Yep. Every week from now on. All right, so there's your NFL tier rankings.
Can we do it correctly next week?
Yeah, we'll do it correctly next week. I made this up during the break. I'm like, oh, you know
Okay,
what?
well,
Let's
why
try
don't
the
you
social
just,
media trend.
Yeah.
We're going to sharpen the
There's
edges.
a grid somewhere where we could just fill in.
We'll do that next week. But the point is, you see how much that game sucks. Anybody we love or don't like? I think I got to tell you, I think we did okay. Minus me being an idiot, I feel like we did okay.
Well, the one thing that we disagreed on the most was Cincinnati being a really bad team.
Yeah, I think if we could do that one over, I would move Cincinnati up to bad. I wouldn't put them in really bad.
Didn't understand the game entirely at the beginning of it.
Exactly.
And that's was one of my first choices. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We will talk about some of the individual NFL scenarios from the weekend, as well as all the problems going on in Carolina, because some people said things yesterday that I find quite interesting. That's next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Salvation Army.
All right, guys, one more live and we're back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. Rob Brown Show continues. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, with you here on the radio broadcast. I figured it out. Here's what we're doing next time, Lonzo. We're doing. We have 30 NFL teams. The next time we spin the wheel, and by the way, we'll do it on Tuesdays because we got Monday Night Football. We got to pay attention to, right? On Tuesdays, we will spin the wheel. We're going to do 5 categories of 6 teams. We're going to do great, good, mid, bad, real bad. And then both of us will get 1 wild card. All right. So if a category is filled up and a team comes up, you want to add to that category, you may use your 1 wild card to add them to a category. That'll give us our 32 teams. We will start that next Tuesday. Also, don't forget, tomorrow being Tuesday, you know what we got to do tomorrow. We hand out some TMFINR.
Is not real.
Awards after Monday Night Football tomorrow on the show. So make sure that you are here for that. All right. Let's talk here for just a minute. A little bit of Carolina Panther football. They get demolished by the Washington Commanders by Marcus Mariota this weekend. If you would have told me that Marcus Mariota was going to come in, I would have said, well, at least the defense gets some good practice this week. At least the defense has a chance to utilize a backup quarterback's opportunity to get better, to fly around the football field, to play more and think less. And instead, Marcus Mariota looked like freaking Patrick Mahomes on Sunday against Carolina. They get hammered 40-7 by the Commanders. Now, because as I say all the time, context matters. The context of this story is that the Commanders are a good football team. I know, just like I told you they were going to be behind capital H, him, Jaden Daniels. Not only are the Commanders a good football team, Lonzo, but the Commanders at 5-2 are in the lead for the NFC East. You will go back a number of weeks and recall that's who Rob Brown picked to win the NFC East this year. Feeling real good, boss. So it's not that the loss was bad. It's that you got thumped. You got thumped by a backup quarterback. Andy Dalton turned in the worst outing of the season, one of the worst of his career, 93 yards and 2 picks. After the game, Dave Canales said of Dalton's performance, quote, "It just wasn't good enough." That's true, and he knows that. And so that's something that, again, we just got to be honest about on Tell the Truth Monday and look at the things we can do better from an execution standpoint. Do we adopt Tell the Truth Monday, Lonzo? Is that something we pick up on, Tell the Truth Monday?
No, because to me, that implies that you don't tell the truth any other day. So Monday is the only day you tell the truth. So every other day is lying.
No, I don't think that's how it is. I'll tell you how it is in my opinion, subjective opinion. My wife and I's biggest.
So you're saying my opinion is not?
No. I'm saying we have different opinions.
Okay.
My wife and I's biggest fight in our relationship is that I'm the type of dude, a defense mechanism or whatever you want to call preference to avoid confrontation. When there is a hard truth that need be told, I'm absolutely the guy that will do it. But I take the approach of the old criticism sandwich. You know, you give a compliment, then you give the hard truth, and then you give another compliment. It's you bookend the hard truth with some niceties. Hey, babe, I really do appreciate this thing about you. And here's the hard truth I have to tell you. But also, I really love and appreciate this thing about you. And that way you start it with something nice and you end it with something nice and you get that. Then there's her. And she's the type of chick, great one, that just says it. Hey, man, you're really me off right now. And to her, because, and there are a lot of you like this that I respect it, I wish I had this ability in me. She's one of these people, Lonzo, that like she's going to say the hard thing, but then once she says it, she's over it, right? Like once she gets it out there, it's done. It's over with. I'm really mad at you because you blank. And then I'm like, oh no, conflict, confrontation. We have to fight for like 6 to 8 months now. And to her, it's like she says it and then she moves on. She's over it. Tell the Truth Monday, to me, is where you just walk in and you go, hey, man, this sucks. And here's why it sucks. And you just work on the assumption that after you get it out in the environment, everything's fine after that. The Tell the Truth Monday about the Carolina Panthers is those of you who said it's a Bryce Young problem, you were wrong. You were wrong. Bryce Young's not good. I'm not arguing that he is. But if you said Carolina has a Bryce Young problem and not Carolina is a problem, you were wrong. The team stinks. You threw in Andy Dalton as a starter. You got your one win. That's fantastic, but you got the win because the Raiders, are very bad at football. My dear friend and co-host on Saturdays, Cody Decker, lifelong Vegas Raiders fan, is not well right now. The Raiders stink, and you threw a new-look quarterback at them on short notice, much as you got hit on short notice with Marcus Mariota, and he proceeded to slice you and dice you up this weekend. That's what you did with Andy Dalton to Vegas in week 1. You won. Cincinnati week 2, you didn't win, but you were competitive. But now Andy Dalton's been playing for 4 weeks. And now Andy Dalton's habits and tendencies, there's a lot of guys on the other side of the football field that coach up defenses, and most of them are very, very good at recognizing the things that you do well and the things that you do not do well, and attacking the things you do not do well and trying to avoid allowing you to do the things that you do well. Andy Dalton's been in the game 4 weeks. He's been figured out. They're caught up to speed now, and he's just back to being Andy Dalton. The Andy Dalton that's been in the league 100 years is good enough to be a career backup, absolutely, but the Andy Dalton who is not an NFL starter for a reason. So this is not a Bryce Young problem or an Andy Dalton problem. This is the team's real bad. And I read an article yesterday an editorial yesterday, where the author was like on a warpath to get Bryce Young back under center. He's like, hey, switch back. Let's see what the 23-year-old kid can do. Let's see what he's learned sitting on the bench. Guys, he's learned nothing. He's learned nothing. This is like if I said to you, I need you to take a class on nuclear thermodynamics, and then I put you in an empty bedroom for 3 days and came back and said, what'd you learn? Nothing. There's nothing in here to learn with.
I think he's learned he likes the bench because it's safer there.
Yeah. The only thing he's learned is that you don't get your ass kicked when you're on the sideline with an earpiece on. That's what he's learned. What he's learned is it's more fun being over here than it is out there behind that. And again, I understand that the Panthers are one of the most injured teams in the National Football League. I understand they have lost, 3 starting offensive linemen? I understand that they have had wide receivers that have missed stretches of time. I understand they don't have their full running back field yet because Jonathan Brooks, while practicing, is not fully back and ready to play. It is not solely on Dave Canales. It is not solely on any one person. It is a stack of variables, a stack of issues that has caused what this team is, or I guess I should say is not, which is, competitive in any way, shape, or form. But the point here is, if you do not think that Bryce Young is your guy, there's no sense in sending him out there. Why? Because he cannot succeed in this offense. And if he cannot succeed in this offense, do you know what you're doing? You're driving his trade value in the dirt, which is coincidentally exactly where he would be if he goes out and plays in the dirt. If you do play him and he hasn't grown, and on top of that, he can't grow because the team is that booty cheeks, what are you expecting? He's going to get better? No, he's not. See, go look at what the Houston Texans did for C.J. Stroud. Go look at what Jaden Daniels and the Commanders did. Go look at Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Bo Nix isn't good, all right? Yeah, he thrashed my Saints last weekend. He's not good. You know what Bo Nix is? Bo Nix is a guy who can complete every pass that's 7 yards or fewer. So what did Sean Payton do? I don't think Sean Payton's a great coach. I think he's good enough. All right. You know what Sean Payton has done for Bo Nix? Sean Payton has developed an offense for Bo Nix that features underneath routes, that features short yardage passes, that features allowing Bo Nix to make a quick read, a quick decision, and execute quickly. And if it's not there, to take off running because he's got wheels. They built a team to him. Washington built a team to Jaden Daniels, then went and got Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who absolutely knows how to utilize a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, and they utilize him like Jaden Daniels. They're good. Look at C.J. Stroud in Houston. They went and said, all right, we got our guy. Now we need to build around him. And they drafted offensive linemen and wide receivers, and they went and found Joe Mixon coming off that contract that they didn't want to pick up in Cincinnati. They said, that's our guy. They built a team around him. Carolina just looked at Bryce and went, yay, all our problems are solved. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not even close to solved. All this weekend did for me as far as Carolina goes is made me know that I could come in here today, pop on this microphone and say, if you have been blaming Carolina's problems exclusively on Bryce Young, you now know that that is wrong. Not entirely. He's a problem, for sure. But I'm going to go give a little grace and forgiveness to the guy playing in that program and put the majority of blame on the program. It's a bad team.
Grace and forgiveness, what you're known for.
You know me. I'm a second chance believer. I'm also a believer that we got to go to break. Back after this to wrap it up. The Rob Brown Show is on the Fan Upstate. Yeah.
The middle of the Chiefs game, Lisa gets up and goes and starts doing washing dishes and stuff. Like, what are you doing? She's like, you're right.
It's not worth watching.
And no, I can't watch it because I'm calm and chill, knowing that, yeah, San Francisco's going to come back and it's probably going to come down to which didn't happen, but still. Got a little bit hyped about Patrick Mahomes' run. That was
that man's got to retire tomorrow. Not Mahomes.
That was good.
Oh boy, that he freaking smoked.
Oh, there's a comparison. There's a shirts off comparison that I just saw, and that dude is ripped, and Patrick Mahomes is dad bod. Yeah,
he's smoking that chump. No, you're good.
20.
The Rob Brown Show carries on. Final segment of the hour, final segment of the day starts right now. Welcome back. Rob Brown, the Great One Lonzo with you, rolling through Overreaction Monday. I want your overreactions as we wrap up the radio broadcast today. You can call us with your overreactions on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-FAN-FONE, 844-326-3663. You can send them to the text line at 71307. 71307 is the number. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. You can also shoot us a voice note on the Ray Memorial Hotline. Go to the Odyssey app, AUDACY, put it on all your digital devices. Not only can you go to the Fan Upstate page and listen to the station live 24/7, 365, wherever you are with an internet connection and a speaker, but you go to the Fan Upstate page, and in the middle of the page, there's a little round microphone button. You click on that microphone button, and you can record a 60-second voice note.
By the way, if you only want to leave 30 or 10
or 5,
or I'm not saying you should, just if you just want to, belch into it, you could do that.
Or say, you, Rob Brown, which has happened twice so far. Same guy, but he's done it twice.
And
I
wouldn't
respect
say
that.
it to me, though. So
no, of course not.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I respect the man who is in fact, I need to go pull those. One of those needs to just be a sounder. But it's a guy, he dropped not one but two notes. I'm going to assume a South Carolina fan because they both came in about 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon that said, you, Rob Brown. And that was it. Twice.
Also, we got some twang in there.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Said it twice. And they were two different messages, to the point that just to make sure they were two messages, I dropped them into two different audio editors to match up the waves. Oh, they're different.
Okay.
That man sent me a note that said you, and then 26 minutes later sent another note on the Ray Memorial Hotline to say you again.
So which is worse for you, or does either bother you, being flipped off or being verbally?
The audio double bird was spectacular.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
There's driving down the road and hitting the dude with the bird. Then there's driving down the road, waiting till you're at an opportune moment to hit the double bird. This dude didn't say you once. He said you, then waited half an hour to then say you again.
I saw that happen the other day because it was right out here, surprisingly, at the intersection of Garlington and Woodruff Road. And then dude, to give the bird, hangs completely out of his car while driving to do it, and then almost wrecked and caused a big old accident. So is it worth it to do that?
When the moment comes to you where you have decided this person has created a situation that is so over the top, that is so obnoxious, that is so ridiculous, that I need him to not only know bleep you, but I need him to know it like with great urgency. I need him to know that this is not a regular you done made me mad scenario. This is a over the top you made me mad scenario. You're willing to take risks is all I'm saying. You're willing to create a situation that could end very poorly for you because you need that other person to know what they can go do to themselves. I'm not saying it's a good idea, Lonzo. I'm just saying I understand it. I understand it. Hey, did you see the situation going on with the Cleveland Browns after Deshaun Watson went down with injury this weekend?
You mean cheering?
So let me run you through the whole scenario because that's part of it. Yes. First off, there was a video making its way around the internet of the Cleveland Browns making their run out onto the field this weekend. And the perspective is from somebody with a cell phone camera up in the top of a section. And you hear, at tight end, number 87, David Njoku. And then they introduce at quarterback, number 2, Deshaun Watson. And the crowd openly boos Deshaun Watson. Then, about midway through the game, Deshaun Watson goes down with what is believed to be a season-ending Achilles injury. The tape comes out. And remember last year when Aaron Rodgers went down with an Achilles injury and we all learned together in real time that if your Achilles snaps, Alonzo, the entire back of your leg quivers from the injury. That happened to Deshaun. It's very obvious what happened. Well, he goes down and the Cleveland fans start cheering the fact that they are going to go to a backup quarterback. It was a bad scenario. They would go on to lose to the Bengals 21-14. Ultimately, Deshaun Watson would be replaced by a combination of Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Jameis Winston, who apparently Jameis Winston's now number 3 on that depth chart. Who knew? Well, after the game was over, in the press conference, Myles Garrett was asked about the fans booing Deshaun Watson, both in the pregame and after he suffered the injury. And Myles Garrett said, hey, we think it's uncalled for. We think that it's unacceptable. And then goes on to say that Deshaun Watson has been a consummate professional in his college and professional career. Myles, no, he hasn't. That's why he's in Cleveland, is because he definitely did not do that. The guy
who swung the helmet. I mean, you know.
And the swinging the helmet's bad. Great one. But remember, that's only half of that scenario. Because not only did he swing the helmet at another man, swing the man's own helmet at another man's head, but then remember, after everybody said, hey, Myles, you're kind of a... He then said, oh, it's because that man called me the N-word. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. There were mics on the field, bud. No, he did not. So not only did you swing the helmet at the unprotected head of another player, which could... you know, and I don't think I'm being exaggerative here, kill him, literally.
Especially if you are a man of that size, swinging with that kind of power,
Yeah, because if I hit you in the head with a helmet, you got a chance at going down. If Myles Garrett hits you in the head with a helmet, you got a chance of being Oberyn Martelled from the face of the planet, okay? But then, after he made a mistake, you know what would have been the right thing to do for him to come out and go, look, I overreacted. I was emotional. I was caught up in the moment, and I made a mistake that I will regret for the rest of my life. I am so very sorry to him. I am sorry to everybody who saw it. That is not said it, yada, yada. What did he do? He said, no, he called me the N-word. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. And the fact that you were willing to try to character assassinate that man because you bleeped up is awful. So, Myles, not only is Deshaun Watson not what's the word I'm looking for here? Good person. But you defending him when you yourself have shown a history of not being a good person? You know, it's one thing, though, to make a mistake. It's another thing to make another mistake. It's another thing to make a mistake, immediately make the other mistake, and try to make somebody else the bad guy when you clearly made the mistake in that situation. And then they go to the locker room afterwards, and Jameis Winston lays down a heartfelt defense of Deshaun Watson. I was on Twitter, and they're like, Jameis Winston gives a moving speech about it. It's like, Jameis ain't exactly the guy I'd be trotting out for this either, bud. Like, how did you possibly find the worst 2 representatives in the building to defend Deshaun Watson? This is the most Cleveland Brown things they've done, and they're the Cleveland Browns. The fact that when this man goes down for the season, the guys that you trotted out were noted assaulter Myles Garrett, noted willing to assassinate the character of another player because he bleeped up Myles Garrett, and Jameis got his own damn problems in that department, Winston. Those are the guys you trotted out to send out the heartfelt message about Deshaun Watson. You know what? Listen, I'm a former PR guy for a large entity, for a large organization. The minute Deshaun goes off the field, do you know what I'm doing straight up? This isn't hindsight 2020. This is, I said it in the moment. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm sending my PR chief directly to Jameis Winston and going, you shut your damn mouth. Not a word out of you. If anybody asks you about Deshaun Watson, you simply say, hey, it's my time to step up. Hey, Myles, not a word, bud. If anybody asks you about Deshaun Watson, your response is, this team always responds to adversity, and we will again today. Not another word. The most Cleveland Brown things this year, and they are really bad at this.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
All right, time to ask Rob what the X is going on, and he will let everyone know. The first thing that's Xing is Trent Williams.
Okay, so Trent Williams got ejected towards the end of last night's Chiefs-Niners game because he punched a man in the head. The problem was he also got punched in the head. It was the definition of second guy always gets caught because, and I don't remember what Chief player it was, Lonzo. You may off the top of your head. I don't.
Someone,
but after
someone with the death wish, I don't remember either.
Trent Williams is a large human being.
I tell you what, the guy who got punched, he's hurting this morning.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And I agree with Tom Brady. Why do people punch people in the helmet? In this case, Trent Williams' hands is the size of that dude's head. If he would have punched through his head if he didn't have a helmet on.
Punched by Trent Williams is like that scene at the end of Avengers where Hulk picks up Loki and just slams him around a bunch. So anyway, a Chiefs player, and this. I'm not saying it's true, but this is not going to help the narrative that the Chiefs get special treatment. Granted, every player has always gotten flagged for being the second guy to do a thing, but this dude punched Trent Williams in the face, and Trent responded by knocking his head backwards like Mike Tyson, but like back in the 90s.
He also hit him in the back of the head. I mean, not in the front. He hit him in the back of the head as he was walking away.
Oh, for sure.
So, which is it's so cheap. It is. But, I mean, you don't pick a fight with that dude. If you do and you get hit like that, it's on you. But at the same time, don't hit him in the back of the head. I don't remember the last time that an NFL player has been ejected.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it. I mean, I remember Antonio Brown ejecting himself, but that's the last one I got.
Yeah, I was like, the whole time I'm thinking, do they have ejections in the NFL still? And then,
they do, but you got to be pretty egregious to get one.
Which that was.
For sure.
That's I mean,
and for the record,
it's like Ndamukong Suh stepping on someone's head while they're laying. You know, it's that sort of thing.
For the record, I don't have an issue with Trent Williams punching dude in the noggin. You get punched, punch back. I'm fine with it. I would have
preferred he did it into the front of his helmet. You know, let my guy who was dumb enough to do, let him see it coming.
But why did he hit him in the back of the helmet?
Because it's not going to hurt as bad.
Because dude punched Trent and then walked away like an absolute and entire. If you got it in you to punch a man in the face, then man up, stare him in the eyeballs, and give it a go. But when you punch Trent in the face and walk away, don't be shocked when that man puts his bare paw through the back of your skull.
And at the same time, you go, yeah, see, I stood up to him. And what did he do? He couldn't even knock me down. Yeah. I mean, there are ways to save face to a degree, I suppose.
Dude.
He stood up to a bully, and, you know, he had to take a punch from the bully.
It's a move is what it was.
All right, the next thing that's Xing is David Tepper.
I'm sure social media is just very level-headed and reasonable in their discussions about David Tepper. Again, listen, I'm not going to say they're good. They're absolutely not good. What I am going to say is there's a lot of problems to go around, and most of them stem from David Tepper. I am not saying that that's incorrect. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I have not necessarily been super tied in since those games ended yesterday because I was doing a nice little DIY project in the backyard, building a fire pit yesterday. But here's what I am going to say. have we heard from David Tepper yet? Again, he said he's going to stay out of the way.
He's moving on to soccer, I think.
Oh, sure.
Which might be a good move.
It's a great move.
Yeah.
That's a great move.
All right. The next thing that's axing is Sting.
Is David Tepper the worst owner in NFL history? Or no, that's the Haslams, right? From the Browns?
Yeah.
Sting is trending, and I saw this yesterday because Sting has announced that he has signed, I believe, the first AEW Legends contract and will be kind of doing stuff as a brand ambassador / potentially occasionally showing up on screen, blah, blah, blah. Like, of course he is. He's Sting. They're not going to not use Sting.
Yeah, he signed a 4-year deal to do that. Also, we got time for one more. Dow Loggins is trending.
I will start with me. I owe Dow Loggins an apology because that offense was clicking in the first half. Here's what I am going to say, and I think it's fair criticism. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. Y'all should not have taken your foot off the accelerator in the second half. Do you feel like they did?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I
they
did too.
did. Yeah.
I feel like they took their foot off the accelerator and you should have tried to win that game by 50. You should have tried to get a 50 spot on Oklahoma. That's what you should have done. You should have got some razzle dazzle stop points.
Oklahoma decided to not give the ball back to South Carolina via, interception or fumble.
Yeah. That did help. And let's say the offense was fine. Let's not pretend the offense went out there and cooked. The defense won this game for sure, but it was good enough. We'll talk more about that game more in depth after another day in the rearview mirror tomorrow. I am Rob Brown, the great with Lonzo on the ones and twos. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Tuesday edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later. We suck. All right, we did it. Good job, everybody. 100% the Browns give Deshaun Watson a male physical therapist, right? 100% they give him a dude.
Well, that's probably all that will work with him.
That's probably also
true.
That's probably also true.
Because if you're a team physician, you're like, nah, I'm not. No, I just no.
Oh man. So, you ready for today's favorite conspiracy theory? A lot of calls last night in the WNBA championship game 5 against the Minnesota Lynx. And people were already like, oh, what's going on? Is this rigged? Whatever. The commissioner of the WNBA came out last night to give the trophy to New York. And she came out in a long dress that has the New York skyline on it. She was literally wearing New York City on her dress. So there's this big conspiracy theory right now of, is she doing that because she was openly New York, or did she have a New York City dress ready to put on for the trophy celebration to give them? Because she wasn't seen during the game, so we don't know if she was wearing it during the game or not. But I love that the WNBA has made it to, let's just do open conspiracy theory levels of publicity this season. All right, dudes and dudettes. Amigos and amiguettes, that's going to be it for us. I'm glad you were all here. I appreciate you all being here, and I hope you will all come back tomorrow as we take the 36,000 view of the college football weekend. Thanks for being here. You're all stellar people. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Tell your friends about us. My conspiracy theory is the Steelers started Russ to try and get a team to trade for him. I mean, honestly, are you trading him right now?
You might be trading Justin Fields.
Honestly.
Yeah.
That conspiracy theory
holds. There was booing at the beginning of the game when Wilson was struggling.
Yep. And then he ran off 34 unanswered points.
He did.
I think, honestly, Joe, here's the fun part about your conspiracy theory. You could make it about either quarterback and it works.
Yes.
Right? And you could make it about either quarterback.
And that was my first thought. I was like, okay, Justin's out the door.
Yeah.
Because of what happened.
And
there are some teams right now who go, yeah, I'll take him.
Yeah. You could make that you could say my conspiracy is the Steelers started.
You talked about Miami. What about Justin Fields in Miami?
I'd take that in a heartbeat if I was Miami.
Yeah.
Take that in a heartbeat if I was Miami. And Russell Wilson, for the record. I'd take either one of them if I was Miami. I'd be on the phone with Pittsburgh today going, which one do you want less? We'll take him. Like, which one is ready to move? We'll take him. For sure. Now, that's the right play. The right play, and for the record, is somebody who said, Russell's your starter and he will be the starter all season long, barring injury. That's the right play. Even I would trade Russell Wilson and keep Justin Fields, but we'll see what they do. All right, that's it. Y'all have a great day. Thanks for being here. Tell your friends about us. Help us grow the show. Goodbye.